This is Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily with Andrew Hustler Paterson and Michael Remis.
Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome to another edition of Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Oh, we got a banger for you. And a very, very special guest to lead things off coming up in our first guest segment. The return to Winnipeg Sports Talk of the GOAT himself, Milt Stegall. Cannot wait to have Milt on to talk about the incredible reception he had in Winnipeg on Friday night. And then get down to business, trying to fix what's up with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers as they head into Toronto on Saturday. So Milt Stegall first up. We'll get to some Jets off-season topics with Brandon Rewucki after that. And then head out to Toronto, talk a little Jays, a little Bombers Argos, find out how mad the faithful will be at Mitch Marner when he comes in to TO as a Vegas Golden Knight. But mostly get into Bombers Argos with our pal, a.k.a. Aaron Korolnek, the host of First Up on TSN 1050. And then a big international event coming to Winnipeg in August. We'll tell you about that in one of our Sport Manitoba Takes a Community to Play segments. So going to be a good one. Cannot wait to have Milt coming up. And I know you'll have a ton of warm welcomes for Mr. Steagall when he joins us on the program. Listen, just before we bring in Michael Remis, a big thanks to the sponsors that make the show happen each and every day. Of course, our partners at Coolbet Canada, Princess Auto, Manitoba Battery, Canadian Club, St. Vital Dental Center and Rollies Transfer, F Apparel, Aikens Lake Wilderness Lodge, Royal Sports, Boston Pizza, Little Brown Jug, the Winnipeg Gold Eyes, Assiniboia Downs, back at it tonight with live racing. Of course, Breezy Bend. We'll do a why not question of the day for Not Autocorp at Waverly McGillivray, and always taking your fan feedback for fansfirst.ca. Welcome to everybody in chat. Hit that thumbs up button if you haven't already, and let's welcome in Michael Remis to the program. Remo, what's up?
Feeling good here on a Tuesday. What is it? Wednesday now? On a Wednesday now, feeling good. We got some afternoon baseball on. The Jays tonight. Just enjoying all the, I'm enjoying all the tributes to Ozzy Osbourne on social media. Nice that it's bumped Coldplay off the front page of the internet.
The Coldplay couple?
Yeah,
they're done for a bit.
That's yesterday's news. They can take a break unless something comes out there. But some really nice tributes around, social media from anywhere, WWE, rock legends, TV, anything. It's a huge part of pop culture. Ozzy Osbourne and passed away yesterday on this show. We announced it, and it was definitely shocking to hear. But they just had with the last show, and they didn't listen to a bit of Ozzy, the last couple of weeks since the last show. So some nice tributes online. Enjoying those.
I saw if you go to the St. Louis Blues Twitter feed,
yes,
the Blues have a quote tweet of Ozzy in a St. Louis Blues jersey. I'm not sure when this was. Probably, I would imagine, from 2019 when they were in the Cup run. But it basically said something like, St. Louis loves you, Ozzy. And I will tell you, there it is. I will tell you that, and look at that. Look at the picture in the corner, though. Like, that one is from, like, the 70s or the 80s. And he did wear that shirt, I believe, at some point.
It was in a mugshot, yeah.
Oh, that's what he was wearing in a mugshot. Well,
that's
Blues
what he's
fan
wearing
for life, I guess. The city of St. Louis I always joke with my friends down there when I was there. It's like time stood still when it comes to the music that they listen to and like. Like, I'm convinced that Rush is still like the number one most popular band in St. Louis. And Ozzy was an absolute mainstay. I mean, on their rock stations, you go to a Cardinals game, you go to a Blues game. I mean, that is the heartland of classic rock, if you will. And I know that we don't really think of Ozzy sort of as classic rock, but as everyone gets older and you've got new generations, I mean, that sort of is the classic rock, the AC/DCs, Ozzy right up there. And man, like for Ozzy, and we talked about this a little bit, I mean, he was literally on stage 2 weeks ago. I mean, the guy grinded right until the end. And you're right, the tributes are, I mean, some are, musical because of just how impactful he was as a rock star. But to be honest, I mean, all the funniest things and the things I remember most about Ozzy, sort of from the Osbournes and just like the unique character that he was and the guy that he turned out to be later on. Oh, of course, who can forget his time with DX as well?
Yeah, again, part of pop culture. I thought about him in Adam Sandler movies, appearing on WWE. But you mentioned Crazy Train, the number one song that you'll hear at a sporting event. And there's a video going around of him playing like the Patriots season opener on top of a massive helmet in 2003 and just killing it. So many sports anthems for sure. And Chipper Jones put out a tribute. That was his walk-up song, Crazy Train. He posted about it saying, always feel an association. So there is, just a crossing of every kind of pop culture with the passing of Ozzy Osbourne.
Well, and I mean, listen, this is a sports show. When was the last time you were at a football game and didn't get Ozzy at some point? I mean, he's probably 80-90% of games will have an Ozzy track at some point in there. I mean, he was in a lot of ways that genre of music led by Ozzy is kind of the soundtrack of professional sports, or at least has been for 25 years.
Oh, whenever I would make your pump up playlists, like Paranoid, Crazy Train, always gonna be on there. Yeah, I mean, before every kickoff, you heard Crazy Train. I saw a clip of Rene Rancourt singing the anthem at the Bruins Stanley Cup final, and they ready to drop the puck, and it's Crazy Train. So as you mentioned, to the end, the guy was rocking out in the chair at 76 years old with Parkinson's. You could tell he wanted to get up but he wasn't physically able to, but gave it everything he had. And I've been watching those clips the last 24 hours here.
Listen, I've got some friends that were all fired up about that show. And I mean, I saw it and I'm like, what the heck is going on? I mean, this kind of almost feels like elder abuse. Why the hell are they throwing him up there at this point? But knowing that he is now passed, I have a feeling that Ozzy loved the fact that he basically lived his entire life doing what he loved to do, and that was entertain people and sing his songs. And obviously he was nowhere close to 100%, but that one final opportunity, I think, for a lot of people to see Ozzy out there was a real special one. And unfortunately, the legend gone too soon. It is funny you said that is cleansing your timeline of Coldplay, because I did, just before we went on to the air, see someone tweet out a new day, new angle of the Coldplay couple from the event. I'm not sure that that those two ever really get over this one. A lot of times we say, hey, don't be the main character of the internet for a day, but by 2 days later, you're pretty much forgotten. I have a feeling, because of how white hot viral this was, that there's going to be people following the lives of both of these individuals for a long time. And there will be many where are they nows about Mr. Byron and the head of HR.
Yeah, I saw that they got a new person who's going to be the CEO of Astronomer. So I guess we're invested now in what's happening. And again, this moment was so viral, as you said. It was on every sporting event. The Bombers did the hug cam to the music of Coldplay on Friday.
That was funny.
I'm watching TSN Sunday CFL, and they're showing people in the crowd, faking. Like, they show them hugging, and then, they fake, like, oh, no, don't show me after. And, like, the Phillies are doing the kiss cam with the Philly fanatic and the girl Philly fanatic, they're pretending like, hey, don't look at me. So, yeah, I think that's going to live on for a while. And, well, I don't know if there's any updates. I've seen a lot of fake statements going around from either one of those people, but nothing official.
But it is official, like he's out as the CEO. That's legit.
There's an interim CEO, of Astronomer.
It did get me thinking. And again, I'm not here promoting infidelity. I don't want this to be taken the wrong way. But I did have this conversation with a couple friends as to, because I mean, like cheating on your wife or whatever, it's not illegal.
No.
What jobs should and would you get fired for being outed as running around on your wife? Like,
well, I think it's because it was with the HR person here would be, but yeah, that's a good question.
And I mean, something like, listen, if you're a priest, you're like some politicians, I guess, that run on certain platforms. But the public nature of this, and I'm obviously with being the HR was the thing that kind of blew that up. But I did get into that. Like, at what point when you get exposed for being a bit of a dirtbag, do you actually lose your job? Although don't have any bake sales for that guy. I think he was making millions of dollars each and every year. I'm sure they'll all be fine. Anyways, I'm sure this is not the last time we'll be talking about or discussing this. Hell of a baseball game last night in Toronto, Reem. I don't know how much of the game you caught. I mean, right down to the ninth inning. Hoffman gets tagged in a 4-4 game in the top of the ninth, and the Jays lose. The Yankees finally get a win. They're first in 6 cracks at the Jays. And man, is this set up a huge one tonight. The rubber match. Max Fried, Chris Bassett as the winner of this one will take 2 out of 3 and will either have the Yankees 2 games behind the Jays, or if the Jays can win, a comfortable 4-game lead at the top of the AL East as they get ready for a 4-game set against the Tigers Thursday through Sunday.
Yeah, tough one with Jeff Hoffman blowing the save. He's been pretty good and was pretty good in that first game until giving up that home run late. Blue Jays, had a man on, not able to cash him in, but hey, still in a pretty good spot. 3 games up on the Yankees. Did fall back behind the Tigers for top spot in the American League, but very exciting. I don't know if you saw, it was Looney Dog night, and it was the record number of Looney Dogs eaten at Rogers Center yesterday. Keegan Matheson putting out there 77,902 hot dogs allegedly eaten at the game last night for Looney Dog.
77 it was?
77,902. Is that like 2 per person?
I thought it was 84. So actually, they didn't get quite to the 2 HDBPF data point. We were digging into some of the hot dog analytics today on the Lock Shop, and 42,000 seats in, it's probably about 1.8 HDBPF. That's hot dogs and buns per fan. But listen, the fans have been crushing them. I was there on one of those days. Was it last year, the year before? And they set up shop. They've got, and you just go in and get 6, 8 hot dogs. I mean, there's a lot of Joey Chestnutting. Joey Chestnut, by the way, was on a Barstool stream last night across from Wrigley Field where they were trying to do the 99-99-9 challenge, drinking 99 beers, 99 hot dogs in 9 innings with a bit of a team. Chestnut was not allowed to eat hot dogs, though. He did, however, help the team out with an impressive 20-beer outing over the course of 9 innings. So Joey Chestnut showing that he's a 5-tool player. He can do a lot. This should be, all jokes aside, though, what a pitching matchup tonight for the final of this series for the Battle of the AL East.
Yeah, you're seeing massive TV ratings for this, and yeah, Bassett against Freed should be really great tonight. What is it? 6 o'clock, Sportsnet. I'm tuning in. I see people in chat. Dan, Jets fan, says that he's happy the Jays are doing well, and certainly gives us something to talk about. But I just remember 2015. I never seen people so fired up, and they haven't had any playoff success really since 2015-16, and you know, I think it's because the expectations were not there. This is catching everyone by surprise. Like, hey, this is awesome. They're really in first here. So we'll see how it goes here for the third game of the series.
Ken's at the game tonight.
Yeah.
I know Weber, I'm sure he'll throw out a picture or something on social media. Hey, if you missed the show yesterday, good news from the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Zach Collaros behind center at practicing, scheduled to start against the Toronto Argonauts this week, which is great news. Other than that, still no Stanley Bryant. You'd hope that could change by Saturday, but I guess we'll see. Not expecting Dalton Schoen to come in. Here's just a little bit of Mike O'Shea from the post-practice yesterday. Once he got the fellows back out there preparing for the Argos, and he was asked on what he's hoping to see cleaned up from the Calgary game heading in on the road to Toronto.
What are you seeing from this group? Like, is it just the past 2 games? Is it big things that are concerning you? Is it just the little things that need to be cleaned up? Like, what could you maybe just give?
I think it's the amount of things, because some were big, and some were minute, but too many. Too many penalties, too many giveaways, too many busts, too many times you lack of communication, out of gaps, missed tackles, just too many to survive, right?
Hey, listen, the coach makes a point there, Remo. I mean, it's hard just to identify one area of the game. I mean, I know everyone wants to talk about the pick on the goal line by Strevler, which certainly would be, I would say, the turning point in how things went so wrong for the Bombers in the second half. But the defense was getting shredded. There were some breakdowns on D that cost, the team straight up touchdowns. There's obviously that other pick six. But I think the thing, and he said it right off the bat, the frustration with the penalties and very un-Bomber-like. I mean, undisciplined 15-yarders. I think there was 4 of them. That that's going to be right at the top of the list of Mike O'Shea. But there was execution, but there was also some poor decision-making, which is not something that normally is a trait of the Winnipeg Football Club.
Yeah, we'll see what happens if they can clean this up. I know last year off to a tough start, and we've definitely seen some uncharacteristic penalties, some serious blown coverage as we're leaving their top end zone target wide open. Like to think they're able to identify those and clean them up. We'll have to wait and see. A nice opportunity here. Let's look at the standings going up against the 1-5 Toronto Argos. So nice opportunity for them to get back on track.
Yeah, listen, I don't take anything for granted. I mean, I think I said this yesterday on the program. I mean, think about year after year. Like, even when the Bombers are the class of the league, they have a very tough time winning in Toronto. The games are always really tight. And listen, we know Ryan Dinwiddie, of any coach in the league, might have the best track record of scheming against Mike O'Shea. Certainly we saw what happened in the Grey Cup last year, but this has always been a very, very tough out for Winnipeg, even at home against the Double Blues. So I know the line moved up. I think it was 3.5 when I last looked. It was as much as 5 in some places I saw. That, to me, is a lot of points to lay for a Bomber team. They're looking to, listen, they've got to find a way to win, and I don't think you can spend too much time paying attention to the record of the Toronto Argonauts. Here's what Mike O'Shea had to say about the host team, the 1-win Argos.
Yeah, well, we would never look at their record. They're going to be well coached. They're going to give a lot of effort. I mean, you see them battle every single game. They've made some very big plays that have kept them in games and given them opportunities, and it just, probably hasn't worked out for them in the end. So, we are more concerned with, making sure we're playing up to our level, and then we'll see what happens at the end of the game. But, they're certainly not a team that anybody would take lightly.
I don't think for a second that Mike O'Shea or anyone's taking the Argos lightly. But as he said, Remo, like, you can worry about your opponent, you can prepare for your opponent, you can make sure that you know what the opponent is likely to do, but there are so many things that the Winnipeg Blue Bombers need to get better, and it goes back to what Mike O'Shea just said, getting back to their standard, because they fell off it big time in these last 2 games against the Stamps.
Yeah, one of my favorite, cliche coach speak things is, we're not worried about what they're going to do. We have to focus on our game plan. We're here to play Blue Bomber football, something like that. And I think that's exactly it. They've got so many areas they need to clean up. They're just focused on executing, and they'll worry about, they can focus on Toronto, but more importantly, got to get their heads turned on right, not taking penalties, not blowing coverages, and executing their game plan. So I think it'll be a close game, but yeah, I'm a bit nervous about the Bombers going into Toronto from what we've seen over the last couple of years.
Yeah, listen, we're going to get into the Bombers going into Toronto with Milt Stegall coming up in just a few minutes. Now, we will talk some Jets and NHL offseason with Rewucki a little bit later on in the program. We'll also touch on Connor. Has been doing some great work, and it's up right now on the YouTube channel. We'll throw out the podcast on the weekend for some weekend listening. But the Winnipeg Jets prospect rankings are out. First was the 6 to 10, and now 1 to 5 are out. Maybe we'll go over those a little later on and get some feedback from you guys. But I would suggest you check that out on the channel and definitely leave a comment with your thoughts on what Connor's put together for the Winnipeg Jets top 10 prospects. Hey, speaking of the Jets, I know we were speaking yesterday about what's next. Obviously, Dylan Samberg, they've got a week to figure out a contract before his arbitration date next Wednesday. And then as we talk with Ken, it moves on to Kyle Connor extension talk. And Frank Saravelli was talking earlier today and just asked if he had any update on Kyle Connor's next deal. Here's what Frank had to say on that.
This one is in our YouTube chat, and it's from JC, who wants to know any update on Kyle Connor signing an extension with the Winnipeg Jets. Speaking of what would be the biggest extension or biggest contract in club history, that's what you could count on if Kyle Connor is coming back with the Winnipeg Jets. Such an incredibly talented goal scorer. I would peg that next contract somewhere between 11 and 12 million on AAV. It's going to be pretty significant. Obviously a huge priority for the Jets to get done, and nothing pen to paper at this point in time.
So no real update on that, but I do kind of agree with Frank's prediction where that thing ends up, assuming that they're going to be doing it long-term and buying up a number, all UFA years. When you score as much as Kyle Connor has, you get paid, and that will undoubtedly be a record-breaking contract for Kyle Connor, assuming that he does extend with the Winnipeg Jets. All right, Milt will be joining us shortly. Folks, if you have a move planned this summer, lean on our friends over at Rolly's Transfer, family-owned and operated for 60 years, the most trusted name in moving in Manitoba. We're always getting great feedback from our listeners that heard about Rolly's on Winnipeg Sports Talk and use them. And hey, we've got a special discount code as well. If you click on Request an Estimate on their website at rollys.com, put in the promo code WST, and then let them know when and where you're moving and what needs to go. And the friendly staff at Rolly's will turn it around quickly with a great quote and get you and your family locked in for their white glove treatment and service on their way to your next destination. For all of your moving needs, make it Rolly's. Find out more, request an estimate today over at rollys.com. It is summer. It's beautiful out. Well, not totally beautiful. It's going to be nice these next few days, which is always a perfect time to enjoy some new summer drinks. And our friends at Canadian Club have the new club pack right now, which is ready to go at your local Manitoba liquor marts. 12 cans, 4 of the world famous Canadian Club and ginger ale, 4 of their new citrus smash, and 4 of the half and half lemonade, half iced tea, not carbonated. Absolutely perfect drink for the golf course this year. You can pick all those up together in the club pack at your local Manitoba liquor marts. And of course, when you're thinking whiskey, think the original, Canada's greatest, most favorite Canadian whiskey since 1848, Canadian Club, the official spirit of the Bombers. Pick it all up at your local Manitoba liquor marts. And Hey, if it's been a minute since you've been to see the dentist, don't forget about your grill, folks. Give our friends at St. Vital Dental Center a call and pop in and get the best in service and convenience at their beautiful new location at 167 St. Anne's Road. Convenient free parking right behind the building. And of course, Dr. Terry and his wonderful staff will look forward to taking care of you and your family as they've done for generations of Winnipeggers and Manitobans for all these years out in St. Vital. Everything from checkups and cleanings to things like dental implants. They've got it all with state-of-the-art equipment. So for all your dental needs, take care of that smile. Head on down St. Vital Dental Center, 167 St. Anne's Road, and tell them your boys at Winnipeg Sports Talk sent you. All right, we all remember what an incredible moment it was at the beginning of Friday night's game as Bomber fans, as we Winnipeggers got to welcome back one of our own. Of course, he is Blue Bombers legend, Milt Stegall. Half of the Paper Plates show with our pal Ches, David Sanchez. And Milt joins us now on Winnipeg Sports Talk. Milt, thanks so much for taking the time, and it is always a pleasure to have you back on in the peg on Winnipeg Sports Talk. How are you? Oh. Hold on a sec, Milt. Hold on a sec. We just got to get you, got an audio issue here.
Is that better? Can you hear me?
We're good now, man. Great to see you. How are you?
Okay. We're getting better every day, and it's an honor and a pleasure to be on your show. I know you get all the big dogs, so I'm just one of the small dogs, so I'm honored. But no, as I said, we're getting better every day. Thank
Dude,
you.
you're the biggest dog around here, and listen, you put smiles on so many of our faces for so long. Obviously, the pain that you felt was shared by everybody here in Winnipeg, and like you said, Chase and you would want you to move on, and I got to tell you, I mean, I was speaking about how much I think we fans were looking forward to just having you back in the grind for CFL, but particularly having the return be here in Winnipeg. And I had speculated, I think the moment was going to be like a 32,000 person group hug. And it sort of did feel like that. Take us back to Friday. I think you knew that Winnipeg was going to welcome you back after such a horrible period for your family. But looking back now a few days ago, how will you remember your return to Winnipeg on Friday night?
Like nothing I ever experienced in my life. That moment, and I knew, Wade and everyone there, they had up, and my bosses at Bell Media TSN, they had something lined up. But those moments right there, when they announced it and the fans started standing up and gave me that ovation, I've never experienced anything like that before, and it was truly such a blessing. It was so therapeutic. I told Ed Tate, he was asking me how it made me feel afterwards. It just made me understand how thankful I need to be about so many individuals in Winnipeg and throughout Manitoba, because it was like they were giving me a hug, but they were also there understanding that they were there and helping me out, getting through that pain, myself and my family. So that's a moment that's going to live with me regardless of what happens in my life, regardless if I forget everything that happened in my life. I'll never forget that moment, because that moment right there in my lifetime, when I talk about top special moments, that's in the top 5 right there, easy, because it felt like an out-of-body experience. So I'm very thankful that I got to experience that.
Well, I can tell you that it was shared by everybody that was in attendance, and to be perfectly honest, that could have gone on for another 5 minutes. At some point, they had to start at the game. But listen, the Bomber fans were not getting off their feet at any point soon until they knew it was time, because of how special you are to this city. And I mean, you've mentioned this is sort of a second home for you, and I don't think it has ever been on display as much as it was Friday night.
Yeah, not second home. It's my other home. It's my other home. Of course, Atlanta is where I lay my head, but every time I come to Winnipeg, I feel like I'm home. There's never been a time I've been in Winnipeg and I felt uncomfortable. The love and the support that's been given to me, and a lot of times, not a lot of times, but especially lately, I've been retired. I meet people who have no idea who I am or whatever, and they talk to me like they've known me forever. So it's a special feeling when I come to Winnipeg. I don't care if it's 40 plus or 40 below. I'm always warm and fuzzy when I come to Winnipeg because of the love and support that I receive each and every time. So it's like I said, it's not my second home, it's my other home, and it's more special to me sometimes in Atlanta. Only thing Atlanta has over Winnipeg is that my family's here. That's the only thing. Besides that, Winnipeg is truly special.
Well, and listen, Milt, I mean, you've been, such a huge part of the sporting community, the history of the football team, but also now CFL fans' daily opportunity to take it in on TSN. And, it's really been, a mainstay. And that Friday night, with everything that you and your family had gone through was an opportunity, I think, for every Bomber fan just to be able to once again just express how much that, we have been with you and feeling for you and your family through all of this. And, there's nothing you can say really to change anything or to make things better. Right. But I do think that there was probably no doubt from your perspective, but there certainly wasn't on anyone that was going in there that would be a moment, a special moment to hopefully help you and help all of us sort of move forward, with you back doing what you love to do. And that's entertaining CFL fans on TSN and talking about the CFL and the Winnipeg Blue Bombers.
Yes. And getting back to work, it was difficult, especially at the beginning, me and my wife deciding when I was going to go back. And speaking when I was going to go back, when I went back, I had no clue that, and this is God, in my opinion, I had no clue that the panel was going to be in Winnipeg. So God intervened and said, okay, this is when you're going back. But just getting back is therapeutic. I work with some great individuals, and the individuals I work with, they're not friends, they're family members. Kate and Davis and Enoch. And I tell people, even the camera people who I work with and my bosses and the producers, just everyone involved are family members. So it's great that I'm back to work. Because those individuals, the conversations we have, some of them are deep and they bring tears sometimes, but there's also a lot of laughter, a lot of comedic tales. So it's good being back at work because I work with some great individuals and they just help out this healing process.
Well, and listen, this is not going to come as any surprise to you. I don't know if you can see the chat, but it has just exploded with love to you and your family. Welcome back to both the program and, of course, the city. And bottom line is a lot of heart emojis. So you know where that's coming from, and that's never going to change here in the city of Winnipeg. As wonderful a moment that was, and a beautiful night, and another sold-out crowd, didn't quite go the way the home fans were hoping for them. Milt, what do you make of the Calgary Stampeders coming in and blowing the doors off the Bombers in back-to-back games?
Before I talk to Bombers, I just want to say, I won. The victory I got that night can never be taken away from me. So I'll leave that right there. But as far as the game, these Calgary Stampeders, right now, they're playing some serious football. And I knew they would be a lot better than what they were last year. Reason being, you bring in a quarterback of VA's caliber. He's going to get you an extra at least 3 to 5 wins. So I knew they would be better. I didn't know they would be this much better. I mean, Dave Dickinson basically overhauled that entire defense, and you see the changes. Those guys are just out there. And I was talking to some. I wasn't talking to anybody. I was just watching them and listening to them talk before the game. And those guys are full of confidence. They think they're walking on water right now. They put in the work, and you can see what it's doing to them on the field. So they're playing some great football right now. And if they continue that, it's going to be difficult for anyone to beat them. But we know what the Bombers are capable of. They started off 0-4 last year, and we know how that finished. So they just got to get back on track. It's not going to be an easy task because they have some areas they really have to get together. But we know what Mike O'Shea is capable of once he get those guys going. But they just have to get it going because these last 2 games they played, they didn't look like a championship caliber team at all, but we know what they're capable of, so hopefully they can get back on track.
Yeah, I mean, we just played a clip before you jumped on of Osh saying, I mean, what he was asked what he didn't like about the game, and he said, well, there was a lot. It was just there was so much of it. There were some big misplays. There were some little ones. a lack of discipline that you do not see from the Winnipeg Blue Bombers very often. I mean, 4 costly penalties of that nature. And you put all that together, it's tough to beat any team, especially a team that's rolling like the Stamps. Just staying on Calgary for a minute before we focus more on Winnipeg moving into Toronto. Like, I agree with you. I expected more from their offense with VA coming in. But Milt, I mean, how shocked are you with their defensive performance, considering that I think 11 of the 12 guys are new?
Yep. It's so surprising. I always speak of this because I've been part of overhauls. Shucks, 97, 98, and 99. It was overhauls in Winnipeg, but we didn't turn it around like this team did. We didn't make that transition from being horrible one year to being great the next year. It took time, but these guys were able to flip it right away. You got to give some credit to not only Dickinson, because to that scouting staff, they went out and they scouted within the CFL. They went out and plucked some guys. They Moncrief and Webb and Tights, and they brought back Flo, but they also went out and got some guys who hadn't played in the CFL, and all those guys are gelling together. There seemed to be no egos. There seemed to be no one wanting all the attention. I mean, I guess when you're winning and playing well, that's definitely the case, but it's truly amazing that they were able to make that total overhaul on defense, and those guys are out there playing like they've been playing together for years. So it's going to be interesting to see how they continue playing, because right now, I don't know how you beat this team. When VA is on his game and you got a defense playing like that, I just don't know how you beat this team. Of course, they're probably going to lose some more games, but I don't see them losing that many games if they continue playing the way they've played these first 6 games.
Well, listen, I mean, through this last 3 weeks, I mean, beating the Bombers twice, giving them their only 2 losses, and doing the same thing to the Saskatchewan Roughriders, I don't think you can say anything other than the Calgary Stampeders, much earlier than expected, have planted the flag at the top of the West Division right now and are challenging teams to come at them. As far as the Bombers go, listen, you had the unfortunate injury to Zach Caleros that knocked him out. But it's important to remember, as ugly as that score looked, Milt, the Bombers were very much in that football game well into the third quarter. And, obviously the decision of Chris Streveler to throw it on the goal line that got picked ended up kind of being the turning point. But my question for you is, and this is something we've talked about for a long time, should the Bombers use Brady Oliveira more in the red zone?
Yes, thank you. Yes, and I'm not a coach, I'm not an offensive coordinator, but I mean, you have one of the best playmakers in the game, and you look at his stats, and he doesn't have many touchdowns scored in his career, and you wonder why. Like, he gets all these opportunities, he's carrying the ball, he catches the ball out of the backfield well enough. You got to get him the ball. He's a defensive back and a small linebacker worst nightmare. They don't want to tackle him, but for some reason, and like I said, I don't want to question their play calling, because I've never called plays in my life, but I'm getting him the ball down there. I'm allowing him to score some touchdowns, because we know once he gets those shoulders turned toward the line of scrimmage, not many people want to tackle him. That's a business decision. So allow him to catch the ball out of the backfield, allow him to run some more or whatever, get him more involved when you get down there, and that wouldn't do nothing else. It would force the defense to have another weapon they have to deal with. But for some reason, they don't like to get Brady the ball down there much. And just in general, just give him the ball a bunch, period. He hadn't had more than, I think 15 carries in any game. And I know he's only played in a few games. He's coming back from injury, but we know what type of player he is, and we know what type of team you have once he gets going. So allow him to get going, and it definitely elevates your opportunities to win more games.
Good things happen for the Bombers when Brady Oliveira is getting the rock. There's no doubt about that. Milt, as far as listen, they're doing it right now without Dalton Schoen, which is, of course, a huge loss, especially when you consider Kenny Lawler is now earning a paycheck from the Hamilton Tiger Cats. But I wanted to get your perspective on the mystery surrounding Dylan Mitchell. Dylan Mitchell signed as a free agent, flown in for a press conference, got a signing bonus. Seems like he ended up in the doghouse somewhere early around in training camp and has yet to play a game. And you'd think, okay, well, someone's going to have to get hurt. Schoen gets hurt.
Don't get hurt.
And it's Cody Case playing ahead of him. I mean, Any thoughts on how Dylan Mitchell has found his way into the doghouse and whether we'll see him this year?
My only explanation is he can't play in a slot. That is the only thing I can think of why they're not playing Dylan Mitchell. If I'm correct, they gave him $50,000-$60,000 to sign, which is a decent amount in the CFL. So they were expecting him to come in and play. But like you say, okay, we like our guys. If someone gets hurt, we'll put you in. Sean gets hurt, they don't put him in. So my thinking is they like the guys on the outside, and maybe he just can't play in the slot. That's the only explanation I can think of, because if he was that bad of an individual or you didn't like him that much, because we know how Michael Shea works. If you're not on with his program, he'll get rid of you. So I'm thinking that's not the case. Only thing I can think of, he's not that good in the slot. He can't waggle. That's the only thing I can think of, because I think he did pretty well in Edmonton. He had his times where he made some plays, and he wasn't consistent all the time, but I saw some flashes of him where he could be a pretty good receiver. But the fact that he's not on the field, if I was a betting man, I would say because he can't waggle. But I don't know if that's it or not. I'm not sure. But I don't know any other explanation why he's not playing. I don't know.
Milt, the Bombers are going to be heading into BMO on Saturday night to take on the Toronto Argonauts, who have found themselves in a bit of a hole early on, still awaiting the return of Chad Kelly. They are 1-5 after. Listen, I don't know. There's different ways of losing football games. I mean, the Bombers got kind of smoked late. The way the Argos lost that game to the Montreal Alouettes last Thursday must have given people fits at sleep right now. But where do you think the Argos are at, and how much of urgency around this football team is there now that they have dug themselves this hole? And we're looking at what's happening in the West with the high likelihood of the potential of a crossover. I mean,
right.
This team needs to get some wins soon, or we could be talking about a long hill to climb in the second half of the season.
Big time. And you talk about the way they lost in Montreal, the way they lost to Saskatchewan. So they're finding ways to lose, and they're in a tough situation. They have the Winnipeg Blue Bombers back-to-back. Can they win this game, either one of these games, without Chad Kelly? I don't know. I mean, they beat the Bombers in the Grey Cup with Nick Arbuckle, so anything is possible. But the way they're playing right now, defensively, they're hurting their best defensive player. McManus he's out there, but we know he's not close to 100%, but he's trying to help out his team. So they're in a tough position, because if they lose these next two games, they drop to 1-7. I don't care when Chad Kelly comes back after that. It's not going to be a good look for this team. So they're going to come out guns a-blazing. They know this. They have to win this game. They're trying to stay in the playoff hunt, as you mentioned. There's a good chance only two teams are going to make it in the East, and they're trying to be one of them. They're not out of it yet. Even if they lose these two, they're not mathematically out of it, but it's going to be tough for them to make it. So this next game against the Bombers, they have to have a victory. Otherwise, it's going to be difficult for them to climb out of that hole and get a playoff spot.
Well, and you know what? I mean, we all love Bobby Dice around here with his time here, connected with so much of football in Manitoba. They're on a bye week, and I mean, listen, it's just the reality of professional sports. I imagine that coaching staff's really feeling it, and an incredible sense of urgency for Ottawa, who has an extra loss coming out of their bye at 1-6. And again, this is a team, I think there's a lot of things to like about Ottawa, but this is a results-based business, and the results have not been good for the team in the nation's capital so far.
A lot to like, and they're 1-6. I like Bobby Dice, but I'll leave it right there as far as I like Ottawa. No, I know where you're going, but I wouldn't be surprised coming out of this bye if they make some changes. They're not going to change the quarterback, Drew Brown, but some changes, because their talent level is not there. And I know Bobby Dice spoke a few weeks ago about he wanted to make changes, but because of injuries, he couldn't do it. But now he has some time for some guys to heal up. They may have scouted some guys that they want to bring in. So I wouldn't be surprised if they make some changes, because they were expecting so much out of this team this year after making the playoffs last year, before missing it, 4 or 5 years in a row. They were expecting to contend for the top spot in the East, and they're 1-6 right now. So I'm not saying they're gonna just not concern themselves with this year, but they're gonna. I can see them making some changes, because their talent level right now is just not there, and they're going into the bye week. They have time to get those guys adjusted. So don't be surprised if you see some significant changes within that roster.
Milt, The Ticats started off 0-2, and we're thinking like, oh man, you're thinking about what happened last year. They've completely turned it around. Bo Levi Mitchell is rolling. Kenny Lawler looks like the most dangerous offensive weapon in the league. And they're going into BC on the weekend, a place where BC, we know on the right night can score. I mean, I have a feeling this might be a 70 or 80 point game. Hell of a way to finish it. But just give us your thoughts on where Hamilton's at right now and where BC's at with 4 losses, 2 to the Riders, 2 to the Bombers so far, and in somewhat of an urgent situation as well to kind of get back into the mix with the rest of the teams at the top of the West.
I'm not going to totally jump on the Tiger Cat train. I'm right outside of it. I want to see them win some more. They're looking good right now. And we knew offensively they would play well. They played well offensively. Last year it was just the defense, but that defense has stepped up. That you bring in guys, Deshaun Amos and Stubblefield, 2 guys who are monsters. That really helped this team out. But I'm not ready yet. If they can put it on BC, I'm on that train. But they have so much talent. You speak of Kenny Lawler, one of the players who in this league, and I talk high of him because there aren't too many receivers in this league who don't have to be open, and you can still throw in the ball and they can make plays. He's one of maybe 3 or 4 guys who are like that. So he helped out that team so much. A lot of people thought he wasn't worth the money he's getting. He's actually worth more because what he does, the impact he has on that team. So they're in a great position right now. If they can pull out this win against BC, I'm on that train. As far as BC, I'm disappointed in Nathan Rourke. I thought he was going to be the top dog in the league this year. I thought, and he still has an opportunity. I thought he was going to be the MOP, but he's not consistent right now. And you look at his facial expression, you look at his body expression, it's just not there of a champion. So he has time to get back on track, but I need to see it this week because I just hadn't seen it on a consistent basis.
Yeah, just on Hamilton for a minute, you mentioned that Kenny Lawler's a guy that doesn't need to be open. It seems like he has just found a perfect fit with Bo Levi Mitchell, because if there's one thing that Bo is, it's somewhat of a gunslinger. And if he has ultimate confidence in a receiver, he is not going to hold up on letting it rip. And man, it seems to be paying big time dividends for that offense.
It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. And if they can continue that, he may be breaking my single touchdown record. Do I want him to break it? No, I don't. I don't want.
We don't either.
No, but it'll be a great thing. Kenny Lawler, I've talked to him a few times, and yes, he's faced some adversity, but he's a great guy. He works hard. He's dealt with a lot, and you can see the work paying off. So let's hope he stays healthy, because if he stays healthy, he's capable of doing some great things. So if he plays 18 games, I wouldn't be surprised if he breaks that record. Because he's a special talent. So we'll just have to wait and see what happens.
Hey, Milt, we talked about 2 really urgent teams in Toronto and Ottawa in the East. In the West, even a worse situation, it's the Edmonton Elks. And, they're still getting over the stench of the Chris Jones era. They're trying to rebuild the franchise, rebuild the fan base, and the wins just haven't been there. I heard Mark Killam earlier today or yesterday afternoon on with the guys on Edmonton Sports Talk, and he was very non-committal about who would be playing quarterback this week. They said they're going through practice, all that. Just thoughts on the Elks situation, and would you stick with Trey Ford right now, or is it time to let a veteran get in there and give them maybe a perceived better chance to win? Because that's what they have to do right now, is win football games.
The fact, and I'm going to say I'm 99% sure about this, the fact that he's saying he's non-committal means he's not going with Trey Ford. If you were going with the guy you started with, you wouldn't have any problem saying that. And I don't know if he's just trying to fool the opposing team's defense, so they have to practice for both, but they're going with Fajardo. I'm 99% sure they're going with Fajardo. And I'm not saying Trey Ford is not their future, but he's just not getting it done. And he's not the only reason they're losing. Their defense has been horrible, but they need someone who can come in and give them that spark right now. And we know Cody is capable of that. Will he do it? I don't know, but we know he's capable of that. I mean, he just won a Grey Cup a couple of years ago, the Grey Cup MVP. So we know he's capable of excellence. So they're going to give Cody a shot to see what he can do, because they got to start winning. They're not out of the playoff hunt, but the way the teams are playing in the West, if they don't get going soon, next 2 games, they won't have an opportunity. So I would be surprised if when they start this game, Cody Fajardo is not under center, because I think right now he gives them their best opportunity to win some games.
Milt Steagall is our guest on Winnipeg Sports Talk, heading into a big week in the Canadian Football League. Of course, you'll see Milt as part of the panel on TSN. We're also noticing the hat, the Paper Plates show with you and our pal Davis Sanchez. Milt, fill people in. We got a lot of podcast listeners, a lot of people that consume stuff digitally. Tell people, if they're not familiar with the Paper Plate show, what it is and where they can find it.
Yes, the Paper Plate show, myself and the little brother I never wanted, Davis Sanchez. It's our show. We talk CFL, but we also talk some other topical subjects, and we just try to come from a different perspective. Of course, we talk CFL on the panel, but there are a lot of times where we don't get the opportunity to talk some things that we want to talk about, or if we do get to talk about some things, we don't get that much time. So this is our opportunity to go out there and talk. Our first episode, we featured Luke Wilson, great guest, one of the most polarizing figures in the CFL right now. Our next episode coming up today at 3:00. We're on YouTube every Wednesday at 3:00, and we just have some fun. It's a no holds barred, somewhat no filter involved. You know, there's never filter with David Sanchez. I somewhat have a filter. I don't curse, but we just have a good time. We comment on some of the things people say about us on social media. Of course, we talk CFL, but it's just an open forum for us to go out there and talk and express ourselves. So check us out, Paper Plate Show, Stegall and Sanchez, every Wednesday at 3:00. If you want to send us some comments, paperplateshow@gmail.com. We're on all the social platforms, so please subscribe, check us out. I guarantee you will enjoy it.
Hit the sub, folks. I mean, for everyone that's watching with us on YouTube, get over there right now. Give the fellas a sub. Leave a comment. Help the algorithm find Milton Davis in their new spot. Ches is my guy. Love talking football with him. Love talking. He's a guy that likes to place a wager or two, Milt. Has he got you into the sports betting space yet?
And people are like, how do you guys get along? You don't have much in
hilarious.
common, but it's crazy. But the things we have in common are strong. They're very strong. That's why we get along so well, because the things we haven't. But there's some things they're like, his wife was like, so what do you do? I'm like, I don't do any of those. Like, why are you hanging with him then? So, but no, we have a special bond. I tell people all the time, if I was to get married again, David Sanchez would be in my wedding. That's how much of a bond we have. We have a great relationship. Yes, we bump and fight sometimes, but that's what brothers do. But I love him like a brother, and I wouldn't have it any other way.
Hey, by the way, how was your stare down with the Walby Burger last Friday at Princess Auto Stadium?
Man, that Walby Burger weighed more than me. I've never seen anything like that. So that's all it was a stare down. I didn't even want to touch it because I felt if I touched it, it probably was going to increase my cholesterol by 50 points. So it's something special. I'm sure there's never been one individual who was able to put that down. I'm sure it takes numerous individuals, but that fits Walby perfectly. That's a Walby burger, and that's how Walby is. He's way out there, and I wouldn't have it any other way. So that was my first time seeing it. Hopefully that's my last time, because that's something I never want to experience again.
Milt, thanks so much for doing this. I can tell you, throughout this on the in the chat, it's just been nonstop. But much like Friday night, all love to you and your family. Thanks so much for doing this. You are a very special person to all of us here in Winnipeg, and I know you heard it loud and clear on Friday, and that will never change. Love to you and the family, my friend, and thanks again for doing this.
Thanks for having me, and once again, thank you to the best fans in the world, the fans in Winnipeg and Manitoba. Thank you guys very much. I love you.
Have a great week on the panel, Milt. We'll look forward to seeing you on TSN.
All right, appreciate it. Take care. Have a good one.
The one and only Milt Steagall, and promise me, folks, subscribe. Paper Plates Show. You will not be disappointed. We know Ches is such a beauty, and listen, Milt, one of a kind. They do such a great job, and again, that just so happy to be a part of that scene on Friday night, as was pretty much everyone in attendance at Princess Auto Stadium. All right, we're actually going to talk a little more Bombers later on. Bombers Argos with AK Aaron Korolnek, who a big Argos guy. We'll see how he's feeling about this game coming up, but we're going to have Brandon Rewucki join us in just a few minutes. Of course, it's a road game this week, and then the following Friday back at Princess Auto Stadium for a rematch between the Bombers and Argos. Princess Auto, proud sponsors of the home of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, and of course, Winnipeg Sports Talk. Princess Auto, headquartered, founded right here in Winnipeg and now coast to coast, but with 3 Manitoba locations: Panet Road, Portage Avenue West in the city, Brandon out in the west part of the province. And Princess Auto is where you find the best deals on the most unique assortment of tools and equipment around. Everything you need to complete that project on your list or start something new waiting for you over at Princess Auto. Pop by and see them in store or shop online 24/7, 365 at princessauto.com. Hey, long weekend coming up. Well, I guess this is the first one, but regular weekend and then a long weekend. There's still a lot of time left to do some great stuff this summer. But whether you're thinking boating, ATVing, bikes, camping, you got to make sure you've got batteries for you. And that's why we remind you to wake up, Winnipeg, and get the best prices and the best deals and the best service on batteries for literally everything over at Manitoba Battery, with the lowest prices in town, period, saving up to $60 a battery by passing the big box stores and going to your local location of Manitoba Battery, Logan Avenue, their new location on Dovercourt Drive in the south end of the city. But listen, we know you're busy. Give them a phone call or order online at manitobabattery.com, and they'll be happy to deliver those batteries to you for free anywhere inside the city of Winnipeg. It is just that easy. For the best deals, support local. Manitoba Battery. Order online today, manitobabattery.com. And hey, before we bring in Brandon, of course, we got weddings coming up. Lots of weddings. It is that time of year. And many of you are probably going, damn, I need to up my menswear game. Well, no worries on that. Get on down to F Apparel, your number one spot for custom men's clothing in town. Suits starting at $400, chinos, golf pants, custom shirts, both tucked and untucked styles, and the best selection of menswear accessories around. And speaking of weddings, if you are getting married or are in a wedding party, make sure to talk to the fellas at F Apparel about a special discount for wedding parties when you get your suits for the big day at F. Pop by and see them in store, 190 Smith Street downtown, or check them out online and make an appointment to come in for a fitting at F. That's EPHapparel.com. All right, great stuff with Milt Stegall. Tough act to follow for our good friend Brandon Rewucki, who joins us now. Rew, what's up, buddy? How are you?
Doing good. Yeah, didn't need to know that. So yeah, we'll under deliver here, but that's okay. We'll have some fun.
Now, it was great to have Milt on, and of course, I mean, he just first off talked about what an amazing moment that was at Princess Auto Stadium. You can't even imagine what he and his family's been going through over the last month or so since the loss of Chase. But that was as special a moment I can remember at an event, a sporting event, maybe in my life, to be honest with you. And it was really great to have Milt back on to be a part of the show and extend his thanks to Bomber fans for their support. Let's get to the hockey. What did you think of the Belardi deal that popped on Friday afternoon, just as we were about to drop marbles? 6 years, 7.5 per season. Well, where did that end up as opposed to what your expectation was of a Belardi extension?
Yeah, the only real surprise to me, Huss, was just the length of it. I just wondered if the Jets were willing to commit. I wasn't thinking a 1-year deal or anything like that, but it seemed like, and they had kind of have a track record of this, but like in the 2 to 3 year range. And then you kind of can reassess after that. There's the injury issue that he's kind of dealt with his whole career. So I just kind of assumed this whole time that it would be in and around that mark. And then they make a decision before he turns 30. And to be honest, I kind of was in a similar sort of a mindset as to what I thought, Jets management was. But it was one of those things where it's like, you go on Golf Town, and it's like, you don't need this, but once you see the deal that you get on it, you're like, I kind of have to have it. $7.5 million on 6 years. I just didn't think that was going to be an option for the Winnipeg Jets, and so it's a great deal. I think that's a good deal under the salary cap a year or two ago, Huss. Never mind what it's going to be in. This season, the year after. That at least mitigates a ton of the potential concerns you have over how he's going to be durability-wise. But now you've got a guy locked up through his 20s and early 30s that you feel confident is going to deliver, I would say, around 70 points a season. And I'll maintain one of the 3 best net front forwards in the entire NHL. So it's a big win. It's just one that I didn't expect we would be discussing. I thought it would be like, oh, 2-year deal. We'll work this out and we'll figure things out later. But it just ended up that way. And I guess from Vilardi's side too, it's like, look, I can cash in, guarantee 40 mil. Yeah, that's a pretty good life, as opposed to maximize every cent I can get.
Well, you know what was so cool about listening to Vilardi speak in his press conference earlier this week was just how open he was, certainly about loving the team and feeling comfortable in Winnipeg and all that. But I don't know if I've ever heard, or I don't think I have ever heard a player sign a 6-year deal and said, I really hope in 3 years people are talking about what a great deal this is for the team. Like, I plan and I want to be overproducing for what I'm getting from the Winnipeg Jets. And that had to be music to the ears of any Winnipeg Jet fan.
Yeah, I mean, it was funny too that he said, and I always laugh when people, when there's negotiations going around and, the player and the management are going back and, sometimes we see a player's side ask for what seems like a lot of money and they're like, oh, he's selfish. How could you do that? But then Vilardi speaks and he's basically like, yeah, they told me we were getting close and, just basically call me in to sign this thing. Like, I didn't know what was going. Like, these players really very rarely, they just kind of like, look, my agent's going to deal with it. Well, I'll trust him. We'll take care of the rest from there. But it's a pretty nice juxtaposition of, yeah, I didn't know what I was going to get to. I'm probably going to outperform this. But again, I could totally understand it from his side of things where, he's missed so many games at a time when an athlete should be playing the majority of them. So you just, and I kind of get that too, especially like with finances. If you can log something in and guarantee it, you know what? It makes life a lot less stressful. And I think that's kind of what it is here, where he's at least, I think self-aware enough to be like, could I have gotten 8.5 on a long-term deal? Yeah, maybe, probably. But, as we see in Toronto, these past few years, us, digging and grinding for every single cent you can get isn't always the most palatable option, perception wise. So I don't know if that went into it or not, but it's like, look, you know what? You could be happy with what you're making here. You're in a spot that you love. And look, this also seems to be Chevy's MO, right? Where maybe guys are looking at the deal they just signed and they're like, I'm probably going to outperform this, but I like where I'm at and we got a chance to win. And that's exactly what the Winnipeg Jets need to do to create this self-sustaining, successful model year in, year out.
Yeah, listen, with the disappointment of Ehlers walking, maybe it took some of the focus off of where the team is at as an organization and what they've been able to accomplish. But I think this was a reminder that being really good and winning a lot of games helps you out a lot when you're in a position of a team like the Winnipeg Jets. And that was one thing that was very much clear from hearing Gabe speak about it, is that he thinks this team is as good as any and has a real chance to win and wants to be a big part of it. And obviously for him in his situation, playing with the likes of Scheifele and Connor, being on the first power play, these weren't things that were really afforded to him in LA earlier in his career. He has now got it. I mean, it would be difficult to imagine the grass sort of being greener elsewhere, but at the same time, that might mean, hey, maybe I'm better off doing a 3 or a 4-year deal because I'll be able to cash in beforehand. But listen, I thought it was a great bit of business. I would have thought that the 4-year deal would have probably been in around 7.5. Yeah. So to get 2 more years, kind of in his prime of UFA years on this deal without a real increase in the AAV, it certainly looks like a big win right now. His availability will truly be the determining factor of all of that. But if he can play consistently 70-plus games, I'm with you. I mean, I think he's pushing 70 points, still a big, big part of that power play, and a good bit of business, and nice to not have to worry about it and know that he's basically on that same time frame as the Scheifele and Hellebuck contracts, which really, I think, are this next period in the evolution, I guess, of the roster and the franchise.
Yeah, and you have Pionk's deal also kind of in and around the same time there. I mean, Morrissey will have to, that's going to be a big one to figure out, but I don't anticipate that being an issue, right? So, I mean, look, we all know this team's contention window is centered around I mean, primarily Hellebuck's contract, but Scheifele and Hellebuck's deals there, right? And maybe even more so the first, 3-4 years of those, where you feel pretty confident you're going to be getting high-level play out of them before they reach their mid to late 30s. So, it's a funny deal where there really isn't a ton of negative here. The only one you can point to is he going to stay healthy? But I had a kind of a funny conversation about this because you look at the last 2 seasons, his 2 injuries were pretty fluky.
Oh, totally.
Where he gets submarined in year 1 with the Jets, and then he takes that hard fall on kind of a weird play at the end of this past season. So it's yes, he's had injuries, but they are fluky. The flip side of that, though, and what was kind of thrown back in my face was, well, guys fall freakily all the time in the NHL. So we'll see how it plays out here. I guess if you're trying to look at it half full, it's not a reoccurring issue where those tend to be much more problematic as I know very well as you get older and older. So, hopefully you just get a bit of better luck these next couple of years and you feel good about him playing 75 games a season.
Now, the story of the week now moves on to Dylan Samberg. There is an arbitration date. It's a week today, so they've got a week to figure it out. I'll ask you what I asked Ken yesterday. Bring out the crystal ball in the Rewucki home. Let's assume that a deal does get done before arbitration, which I think everyone expects it. How many years and what's the AAV? What is your official Samberg contract prediction?
So I'm going to say Tuesday, July 29th, we get news of a 6-year, I'll go $6.25 million extension. I think the Jet, we know this, and I'm sure everybody talks about this with you all the time, that especially when it comes to defensemen, whether it's right or wrong, point production ultimately drives the price of your contract, right? But there are a few cases where I think teams are, intelligent enough and want to do right by the player that they'll kind of, avoid trying to make those like-for-like comparisons. And I think Dylan Samberg's in that spot here. So, I don't expect this to be an acrimonious negotiation over the next couple of days, but this is what deadlines do. They spur action, and I'm sure the agent of Dylan Samberg is going to try to push this one right down to the wire as much as he can. I'll be beyond shocked if it goes to arbitration. I just can't envision it getting to that point. But again, you have a guy that's happy in the place that he's in. Seems like he's very well suited, persona-wise to the wilderness, if you will, of Manitoba and what it has to offer. And you get to play beside a guy that grew up in your town that you looked up with on the same pairing for the next, half decade plus. So I don't think it's going to be an issue. I'm sure Samberg's camp will point to Jacob Slavin's deal and say, look, he's your Jacob Slavin. Let's try to get something in and around that. But I feel like
what is Slavin's deal?
It was signed a few years ago, so it might not be, the perfect comparison. But I believe it was in and around $6.5 million, $7 million, somewhere around there. He makes $6 million. So $6 million 3 years ago.
Yeah, 6.46, 8-year extension for 51.69, AAV of 6.46, which begins this season. His previous contract was a 7-year deal worth 37.1. Yeah, I do think it's a pretty fair comparison with what Dylan Samberg means to the team. Let me ask you this, and I'm sort of right in that neighborhood. I think the Jets, if they're going above 6, I think they get a 7th year. So that's what I would hope to be. But let's just assume that he's on for a 6 or 7 year deal. Last year he did miss the 22 games. He had 6 goals, 14 assists for 20 points in 60 games. So, you extrapolate that, that's sort of 26, 27 points on an 82 game season. What do you think the ceiling for Dylan Samberg is, assuming maybe even a little bit of a boost of ice time, maybe playing in a few more situations naturally as he continues to grow? What's the ceiling for Samberg, assuming that he stays elite when it comes to defending and helping keep the pucks out of their net? How much more do you think we might see from the other side of his game?
Yeah, ceiling, I think it is Jacob Slavin, his ceiling. Not to say he's going to reach that level, but I mean his underlying numbers were pretty sparkling this year. Like he was legitimately one of the best defensemen. I mean, yeah, easily one of the best in the Central. I think easily one of the best in the West. And I think if the Jets could have pushed it to a conference finals appearance, I think more and more people would be given a lot more credit to what Dylan Samberg brings to the ice each and every night. I mean, it's going to be, I don't want to say he's an Olympian because, you know, the American blue line's pretty stacked, but there's no reason that he and Morrissey can't deliver one of the better 1-2 punches on the left side in the entire NHL. Like he's legitimately that good. And he's just always going to be overshadowed because he's not going to get any power play time. You know, he doesn't have necessarily a booming shot or, you know, high level speed, but he just understands hockey so well. Right? He's just got such great awareness, I would say, at both ends of the ice. And I think if you're looking for one area of improvement, it can be on the offensive side of things. Like I think and we kind of saw it a little bit when the Jets dealt with some injuries and he was playing a few more minutes a night and he kind of felt the need to maybe be a little more aggressive offensively. I would say maybe that part of his game, like he's got it in him. I just, you know, you wonder when you play besides somebody like Neil Pionk, if you maybe defer a bit too much. And, you know, not in a negative way, but almost try to be, you know, a little bit passive in terms of pushing the play offensively. But could be a guy that, you know, 35, maybe even 40 points if he got on PB2 once in a while. But even the guy that he is right now, like, I think he's a number 2 in the NHL. And to have him anchor your second pair is a very, very big luxury for this.
You know, the Slavin comparison is so interesting. I mean, of course, Slavin's got 10 years in the league. But, I mean, last year, Slavin played 80 games, had 6 goals, 21 assists, 27 points. I mean, literally identical pace to what Dylan Samberg did last year. Now, Slavin routinely has put up kind of 30-plus points. He does have one 42-point season. But, you know, you're looking at 34, 30, 31, 36. He was 37 the year before going to 27. And one of, if not the elite shutdown defenseman in the game. And, you know, if the Jets could get 20% more offense from a guy like Samberg, which takes him into those mid-30s, and I think that naturally happens as his minutes sort of go up and he gets even more established in the league, that is well worth the price that we're talking about, you know, in 6 point something for a horse that can play that much. And that's why I really do think that this deal is going to get done, and it will be as long as possible because it's pretty hard not to be sold on investing what it takes to make this guy a long-term Winnipeg Jet.
Yeah, and even if it ends up being, you know, 8 years, $7 million per season, there might be some initial sticker shock from people when they see that number with how many, you know, or how few points he produces. But like he's a dog with a capital D. Like this is a guy you win with. Whether you're new school, old school, like you want a defenseman like that in your lineup. And I don't think the Jets are, you know, going to try to nickel and dime him and you know, walk him into arbitration and maybe a quick trip to the UFA status. Like I just think both sides are in a good spot here that they're going to come to some kind of an agreement. And I would agree with this, the sentiment that like 6 years is probably the floor of that. Look, this is the shortest contract we're offering you, Dylan. We're happy to go higher if you want, and we'll adjust the dollars accordingly there. But you look at this blue line here. Yes, it's not perfect. Yes, you've got some things to sort out, but you've got, in my opinion, a top 5 caliber defenseman in hockey. You've got a guy that could be a top pair defenseman in terms of what he brings defensively, anchoring your second pair, plays nicely off his partner in Neil Pionk, another righty there. Like you're just one piece away from this being a really, really interesting argument about it being one of the better blue lines in the NHL to go in front of the best goaltender in the NHL.
Yeah, and listen, it all comes together, and you know, you get that, and you often win a Vezina trophy or a Jennings trophy, and you don't have the best goals against in the league for a couple straight seasons. You know, I was thinking, you know, obviously I kind of estimated at $6 million for 7 years. the best case scenario for this, I think, for the team and just for Jet fans, knowing that he'll be here, I would love them to put on the table the Morrissey deal. 8 years, 6.25, paid the same. Obviously, Josh's was, earlier, so it maybe doesn't even up. He's got more offensive side, which often you pay for. But, a 7 or 8 year at 6 something to keep him around certainly takes care of a lot of important ice time responsibility for the extended future, well into and even past the time when Hellebuck and Scheifele would be around. If you believe that he's a cornerstone of the team, which I do believe they do, you do everything you can to get him done as long as possible and make him a mainstay here in Winnipeg. I hit Ken with this yesterday, and Connor's got his prospect ratings up at Winnipeg Sports Talk. People can go and check that up on the YouTube channel after the show. To me, big opportunity this year coming in with Nikolai Ehlers leaving, particularly for Brad Lambert. And Chibrikov, with the way that he played last year, getting until he was injured and what he showed when he was up, I think is going to get a real look as well. Who would you, if you had to bet right now, who plays more games in the NHL next year, do you think? Chibrikov or Brad Lambert?
Yeah, I'd feel pretty good about laying money on Chibrikov getting a few more games. The issue with Brad Lambert is, and it's been this way since he's been about 16 years old now, is just that there hasn't been this level of consistency that is necessary to be an effective pro. We see flashes all the time, and skill-wise, I don't think there's a forward in this organization that can match what he does in terms of the prospects. But we just see not necessarily, an effort level, but maybe just an intensity and a focus issue where he's just not bringing it enough. And obviously last year was just the ultimate nightmare year for the Moose. I don't know if he's going to be able to solidify that spot on a potential line with Taves and Perfetti. Whereas Chibrikov, put him anywhere and you're gonna have fun watching him play. And so I just think his versatility is going to allow him to get into more games. He might not even play as many minutes in those games as Lambert does in his NHL games, which is kind of a funny. If he said minutes, maybe we have a different discussion here. But I think I can envision him finding a way to crack the third line to start the year. If he's on a fourth line for the Winnipeg Jets, I think he's going to make an impact down there too. And even giving him some spot duty in the top 6 to maybe just switch things up and give your team a different look. I wonder if he can be the Jets' Michael Frolik 2.0. There's a lot of his game that he does really well that translates to the NHL level that I think he's going to have himself a solid career here in Winnipeg. And I think if you ask me the most games this year, I'll lean Chibrikov. I think if you ask me starting the year who makes the Winnipeg Jets, I'll say Nikita Chibrikov over Brad Lambert as well.
Remo, this is a good time for a poll. Why not question of the day for not Autocorp at Waverly and McGillivray? Who plays more games this season, Chibrikov or Lambert? I believe I asked Marat, Mike, Ken, and you, and I think we're at 2-2 on each side. So we have no consensus right now. And the reason why I think it's such an interesting question is they are in somewhat different roles. But you can make an argument that there is a path for both of them to come in with a really strong camp and seed playing time early in the season. And if you get it early in the season and you manage to hold down that spot, you're going to run away with it. But, you can make a pretty compelling argument for both of those players. And the bottom line is both of them have kind of done what they've done in the American Hockey League. And now it's really time to do it this year because – as you look, if you see the prospect rankings, all of a sudden, Braden Yeager's going to be in the mix. Colby Barlow is going to be in the mix, or another year away from Kevin He and Kieran Walton being in the mix. So if you're Brad Lambert or you're Nikita Chibrikov, you're not thinking about, how are things looking in 2 or 3 years? You have to be coming into camp, giving yourself the best opportunity to impress the coaches, earn ice time, and try and be there on the roster because that prospect group with the Moose pushing into NHL territory is only going to get bigger as these guys come out of junior. We've got 2 big-time first-rounders that are joining that group this year.
Yeah, and I would say don't be surprised if Kevin He makes a little bit of noise at training camp to make things interesting.
He sure did last year.
I'm not going to say making the team or anything like that, but the Jets got something in He. The one thing, here's what I would do for sure, though, Huss, is whether or not he ends up making the team, that's really up to Brad Lambert, and how he performs. But I think the non-negotiable for me is whatever the training camp roster set up, Brad Lambert's sitting beside Jonathan Taves in the locker room each and every day of training camp. Preseason.
Get Yeager on the other side.
Yeah, you can choose the other one you want, right? Whether it's Yeager or Barlow, whoever it is. But I just think specifically Lambert having a figure like Taves there, because I get the sense that if Brad could have just a bit of a steadying influence beside him, and you have somebody like Taves who, all the pedigree in the world, right? Like, difficult to not soak some of that up. That's kind of like the last step to at least understand what you're going to get out of Lambert at the professional level. And whether or not he makes the team, I just think that would be some pretty invaluable experience for him. So I'd be looking to staple him to the hip of 19 there, and we'll see what happens in preseason, and we'll figure it out from there.
That is one thing that it's so hard to quantify, but it is going to be really fun to just see how, just the Taves effect, in the locker room. And listen, I think there's a Taves effect for literally everybody. I don't care if you're the captain, you're Adam Lowry, you're Josh Morrissey, you're Mark Scheifele. When you come in with the resume that Jonathan Taves has, the instant respect you get, there's a lot of things that are not tangible. That's a goal, that's an assist, but can be really good. But maybe the biggest one of them all is with those young players, right from the first day of training camp. And, as I say, I don't know how much of that we'll really see, but I guarantee you, when we get to the end of next season, if one of these players has sort of a breakout year and plays quite a bit, I have a feeling that just being around a player like that and being able to lean on a guy, with that sort of experience is only going to be good for everybody in that circle.
Yeah, and it's funny, right? Because you look at the current Jets leadership core, and they do an amazing job, right? Adam Lowry's been a great captain for this team. The A's have all held up their end of the bargain. But at the same token, there are levels to this, right? And it's one thing coming from an assistant captain. It's a completely different thing if Jonathan Taves comes over and says, that's not how we do things if you want to be a champion. And you're like, yeah, you know what? You're right. I will take that at face value, and we will make some changes accordingly. So it's one of those things that you might not even see it take place necessarily. It might not happen till the end of the year, but there's no doubt that just the way it works in any walk of life, right? When you take somebody that was or is ish at the peak of that profession, you're just naturally going to want to soak that up a little bit more and really own in on what they're saying. So it's one of those fascinating subplots of the Taves fallout that's going to come here. Tell you what, it would go a lot further if he's on pace for 60 points this year. So let's hope we get the best of both worlds.
Dude, listen, you show me a Jonathan Taves that puts up 60 points this season playing for the Jets, I'll show you a team that's sniffing around in the similar neighborhood that they were last year, even without the services of the dearly departed Nikolai Ehlers. What's cooking over at Skates and Plates? Just working through more Mount Rushmores and talking about great play. I'm focusing more on the plates than the skates right now.
It's a slightly the percentage is leaning towards the plate side of things. So, it was the Velarde contract happened, and I celebrated just mainly because it's we got news to talk about. So we'll take it as we get it there. But we figured out the earlier episode this week. Friday's going to be a bit of a wild card, so tune in because
we don't even know yet. On the plate side of things, Any good restaurants that you've been to lately? Any culinary delight that stands out that maybe hadn't been on your radar before, or you've just been going to your go-tos?
I mean, it's been a heavy dose of the go-tos. I did recently, I would say, if you haven't been yet and you're looking to splurge a little bit, or, maybe you made a big sale at work or whatever it is, the best thing I've probably had in the past couple of years at least, head down to Hearth and get the duck pasta. And it's I'll say game changer and life changer. I don't know necessarily, but to be honest, man, I've spent a decent amount of nights, unable to go to bed thinking about that duck pasta and that brown butter and those mushrooms and like how I can get it back in my life. So that one's been a big standout for me.
How have you handled moving from the neighborhood to your new spot? I mean, you're around a lot of good food places, and I did see you supporting many of those food places and passes throughout the neighborhood.
Yeah.
How has the move north been?
Yeah, it's the double whammy of the move north, and then the introduction of two anchors, we'll call it, that are keeping me indoors. So it's been an adjustment. I mean, the wallet's appreciating it, but yeah, it's a little bit more of a challenge for sure. But I mean, we got the farmers market here in East St. Paul, which is always a good time, and I find a way. There's a nice spot that makes Jamaican like beef and pork patties. So if you're into that, and there's a guy that rigged up his own like custom smoker. And now that I'm into like the grilling smoking game, I annoy him for a good 20 minutes each and every Sunday. So we have to be a little more selective with how we attack the culinary side of things. But just like anything in life, you make adjustments and you try to attack and be aggressive when the opportunity arises.
Well, I love having you on the program every week because we can talk about a whole bunch of different things. Obviously, we focus on the Jets. Next week, let's just plan to be talking about a long-term Dylan Samberg extension. But then once we get into August and everything basically shuts down hockey-wise, we may have to do a full, like a 15-minute just barbecue segment on discussing that. I think we're overdue for that. And then, of course, we get talking about the NFL, which is just around the corner as well. So we'll do all of that. But in the meantime, enjoy putting together Friday's episode, and we'll look forward to talking to you next week, hopefully with good news on Dylan Samberg being here in the Peg for a long, long time with the Winnipeg Jets. Have a great one, Brandon.
Thanks. Sounds like a plan. Go Birds.
Yeah. Hey, did I tell you I'm going to the Chiefs home opener?
No. I mean,
Super Bowl rematch. Chiefs Philly, week 2.
All right, let me see if I can figure something out with the significant other here, and might have to be a work trip that is a very important one.
Why are you going to Kansas City in the middle of September on a weekend? I don't know. They just
hustle lifestyle. Yeah, you just got to hustle and grind.
Take it easy, dude. Great stuff as always.
That's good. All right, see you guys.
All right, there's Brandon Rewucki. Check out Skates and Plates wherever you get Winnipeg Sports Talk and all of your favorite podcasts. I was just seeing Jay Miller saying, I totally forgot we had Taves. Yeah, Jonathan Taves is a Winnipeg Jet. Gabe Vilardi is a Winnipeg Jet for 6 years. By next week, hopefully we're hearing similar news about Dylan Samberg, which means if you've been holding off getting a Jet jersey, now you can head down to Royal Sports and get your 19 or get your 13 or maybe a 54 for Dylan Samberg. Of course, Royal Sports is your number one spot for all Winnipeg Jet merchandise, biggest selection in the city, all the jerseys, custom with your favorite players, name and number, or your own. They've also got a great selection of bomber gear, including tons of exclusives that you won't find anywhere else. And of course, with summer here, the best selection of soccer, softball, baseball, tennis, running, bikes, and an amazing Yeti cooler section as well for all of you campers. Royal Sports, 750 Pembina Highway. Check them out on Instagram as well, at Royal Sports Winnipeg, for the latest merchandise drops and sale information. We're going to talk to AK about the Jays as well as the Argos heading into the game in just a minute. Looking for a great spot to watch the rubber match between the Yankees and the Blue Jays tonight? Head on down to your local Boston Pizza, ice cold schooners, world famous BP wings, gourmet pizzas, and a ton of great new stuff on their new summer menu. Make it Boston Pizza tonight. And hey, if you are staying at home, you can always get the great taste of BP by ordering online, hot and fresh to your door at bostonpizza.com. All right, Aaron Korolnek coming up in just a minute from First Up with TSN 1050. Just before we do that, let's give a big cheers to our friends at Winnipeg's favorite local brewery, Little Brown Jug.
You train day in and day out, learning new techniques, approaching new concepts, and living out the thrill of achieving your goals. Building a craft beer is no different. While you spend your hours on the ice, we spend ours here, brewing our trademark beer. Again, and again. Here's to pushing the status quo and challenging ourselves to build something memorable. 1919 by Little Brown Jug.
All right, ahead of Bombers Argos on Saturday and a big one tonight at the Rogers Center with the Jays and Yankees. Let's bring in our pal from TSN in Toronto, Aaron Korolnek. AK, what's up, buddy? Great to have you back on Winnipeg Sports Talk.
Only good things. It's great to see you guys. It's always a treat being on with you, and especially considering all the positivity emanating out of the city of Toronto with the Blue Jays. It's looking like 92 and 93 again, Hustler. It really is.
Hey, dude, I mean, as someone that has a lot of empathy for someone like yourself that's cranking out 4 hours a day talking sports, this has to be a gift to you and Carlo because sometimes the topics are a little lean around this time of year, but for the first time in a long time, there is legitimate excitement about that Jays team, and we're seeing it with the amount of asses and seats at the Rogers Center every night.
Yeah, I saw they had 42,000 there last night for the Yankees, which is no surprise because you're spot on. There's a ton of excitement about the Toronto Blue Jays right now because I think in large part we've been almost devoid of it since the Jose Bautista, Josh Donaldson, Edwin Encarnacion years of 2015 and 2016. This team has not won a playoff game in the Ross Atkins and Mark Shapiro era. And there's still a long way to go to see if they actually win one this year, but all signs were pointing to a team that's playing really well at the moment and is going to be very aggressive ahead of next week's trade deadline, a trade deadline that, who knows, could see them bring in a big bat, maybe another arm in the rotation and a couple of bullpen arms too. So there's a lot of positivity emanating here in Toronto, and I think it's completely deserved considering what we've seen so far from this Blue Jays team.
Well, listen, the record is what it is. I mean, they've been sniffing around with the best record in Major League Baseball, at least going into last night before that 5-4 loss to the Yankees. But I think what probably amongst your listeners, and I think a lot of casual Jays fans that are getting more into it right now, what has made this that much more fun is the fact that for the first time in a long time, everybody wrote this team off before the season even got going. I mean, this was the year. Their win total for the season was 78.5.
I know. It's unbelievable. I can't even count how many times last year we had the discussions around firing the general manager, firing the president, firing the manager. And at the time, it was completely deserved. They were a disaster of a baseball team. They finished with 74 wins last year. And from the outset of the season, it was really hard to fathom this team doing what they're currently doing. But it's been a testament to really strong, consistent starting pitching and the emergence of Eric Lauer, who came out of nowhere. No one had even heard of him. And he's been a revelation for this baseball team. Bassett, Barrios, and Gosman have been healthy and producing. And consider the lineup and the emergence, maybe reemergence, you could call it, of George Springer, Alejandro Kirk, Ernie Clements had a really nice season. Nathan Lucas has come out of nowhere. Addison Barger is a fan favorite. He has a resounding love amongst the fans, and he's completely deserving of it. And in spite of not maybe performing at their best, Guerrero and Bichette have been okay, decent, good enough to help the ball club. So there's been so many great stories so far this year with the Toronto Blue Jays, but it is pretty clear that they are going to need some help at the trade deadline. And I know the sportsbooks still have the Yankees as the favorites to win the division in spite of being 3 games back. So at this moment, so it's a testament to, I think, a couple of things. Blue Jays have been playing really well. It's just a matter of, can they sustain that type of play while trying to fend off teams like the Yankees and the Red Sox and the Rays?
Well, listen, the deadline next week is going to be giving us a lot to chew on, and all of a sudden we'll go from not even knowing these guys' names to having the full breakdown of everyone even remotely on the market and potentially available to Toronto by the time we get to next week. I will say this, tonight, Freed going up against Bassett, I would imagine we'll have another close to, if not fully capacity crowd for the finale between these two teams.
Yeah, that's an amazing pitching matchup. Max Fried, one of the best pitchers in baseball. Jays did do some damage against Max Fried the last time he pitched in Toronto in the early part of July, and Chris Bass has just been a workhorse all year. So you really can't ask for much more if you're a fan heading down to the Rogers Center tonight. And then you got to go to Detroit if you're the Jays, and you'll have Tarek Skubal waiting there for you on Saturday, perhaps the best pitcher in the entire sport at the moment. So a couple of very stiff tests coming up for the Toronto Blue Jays over the next 3 nights.
Breaking news on Tarek Skubal. He just left the Tigers to be with his wife, who's having their kid. And I did see our pal Johnny from Gate 14 saying, it's only right that you take a good week off to be with your your family and your
Take 2 weeks. Take 2 weeks off, Derek.
Exactly. Aaron Korolnek's with us. I mean, Yankees and Jays in the rubber match tonight, just after 6 p.m. Listen, I know you are a big CFL guy, killing it on the props, but let's quickly talk about this matchup on Saturday. I mean, Bombers are somewhat reeling after getting smoked by the Stamps twice in a row after a 3-0 start. The season hasn't really seemed like it started yet for the Argos. I mean, this is a team, you assume they'll be there at the end. Chad Kelly's going to be there. You got Ryan Dinwiddie, but it's a one-win team right now. Where are the Argos at as we go into a matchup against a Bomber team that's going to be pretty hungry, I think, to get back in the win column, Aaron?
Yeah, you could say this season hasn't begun for the Argos, or you could say perhaps the season is already over for the Argos. I know it's a CFL. There's 9 teams, and the Toronto Argonauts, if they win 8 or 9 games, they'll probably end up getting into the playoffs in the East. But Montreal, and I know they just lost Davis Alexander, they'll be fine with McLeod Bethel-Thompson. Hamilton looks like a playoff team for sure. Ottawa is a debacle as per usual. So the Argos are a team that has a quarterback in Nick Arbuckle, who's been passable. Yeah, a horrible pick at the end of the game against Montreal that really cost the Argonauts. But their defense has been the major issue all year long, and they lost so many guys in the offseason, seemingly their entire front four, a couple of guys in the secondary, and Kenny Lawler made it look like he was playing against high schoolers out there when he was in Toronto a few weeks ago with the Ticats. That's a major concern because last year, the Argos played without Chad Kelly for more than half the season, and they were fine. They were over 500, and the reason they were fine is because their defense was good. Now their defense is awful, and they just cannot keep pace. And to ask guys like Nick Arbuckle playing with a group of skill position players that is worse than it was last year. Keep in mind, last year, he didn't carry a running back. Makai Polk, who's in the NFL, those were probably their 2 best offensive players, and now they're relying on guys like Kevin Mittal and Dejan Brissett, David Unger a lot more, and Tavares Daniels seems to have lost a step. It's really unfortunate to see the fall from this Argonauts team. I think Winnipeg, and I know Stanley Bryant's likely out this week, Dalton Schoen likely out this week as well. Winnipeg should be coming into town and looking at this as a great bounce back spot against an Argos team that seemingly everybody has been feasting on. The Argos only win this year against Dustin Crum and the Red Blacks. Winnipeg's got to be taking care of business here against the Boatmen.
Well, I mean, I will say this, even when the Bombers were at their absolute best and the Argos have been a 500 team, going to the BMO for the blue and gold has not been traditionally an easy place to win. And in fact, you can almost throw the records out often when these teams play, Aaron. I mean, I don't have it in front of me, but I'd estimate that the majority of their last sort of 8-10 meetings in Toronto have either gone the Argos way or at least have been complete nail biters, like right down to the end.
Yeah, and I mean, remember what happened in the Grey Cup? It was a great night. You were there.
Yeah, we do.
Well, it was a delightful evening for yours truly. Maybe not so delightful for Winnipeg fans. It is true. There's something about BMO Field that seems to be a house of horrors for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, and the Argos are able to pull out some miraculous victories in ways you might not expect. Now, I think a lot of those games were quarterbacked by Chad Kelly, who at various times has been amongst, if not the best player in the Canadian Football League. And we're uncertain about his availability this week. And his return, even though he is coming off a broken leg, has not played in 9 months now, 10 months now. It's been a long time. To expect him to come in and look like 2023 most outstanding player Chad Kelly might be a little bit unrealistic, but I even think a compromised Chad Kelly is still an upgrade over Nick Arbuckle. But there's a lot of question marks around this Toronto Argonauts team, and it doesn't seem to matter home or away. Those question marks are proving to be major concerns when it comes to winning football games, which at the end of the day is the most important thing.
Well, the thing about it is that, even with losing Kelly, Arbuckle's numbers are still pretty legit.
Yeah.
And it's the way that they've lost a couple of games. Like, I still cannot believe what happened last week in that Montreal-Toronto game. When you think about that defensive play and that fumbling it right back, and Dinwiddie's got to be, a little bit frustrated, but still maintaining the confidence that he has the horses to get this thing going, because as you mentioned, it is the CFL, it is the East. A couple wins and they'll be right back where they need to be, trending in the right direction post Labor Day.
Yeah, I think that sometimes you go through cycles, right? And the Argos year after year were able to find these guys, whether they're Americans or just Canadians in the draft. I think Kevin Mitau is a good example this year. But they did a really good job with their player personnel. And I'm not saying they didn't do a good job this offseason, but it's become pretty clear the level of talent on this football team has fallen off dramatically. And I think the salary cap has proven to be an impediment for this football team as well, where you pay Chad Kelly all this money, doesn't play for you, and it's just a trickle-down effect that I think has really come and bit the Argos at this time. But you are right. It is the CFL. You're never really dead till you're dead. Hamilton was completely finished last year, and Bo Levi Mitchell got hot at the end of the season. They almost made it. And that's, I think, probably a similar formula that the Toronto Argonauts are going to have to hope for this year. But I think it's a tall task considering all of the issues they're dealing with on both sides of the ball.
Speaking of Bo, you had BLM on the show. He's got to be feeling it right now. It's amazing when you think that he was maybe out of the league a couple years ago. He's right back at the top of the quarterback rankings and just about everything. And tell you what, we miss Kenny Lawler here. I'm sure Bo mentioned how much he's enjoying having the best receiver in the league on that receiving end of his passes.
Bo did talk a lot about Winnipeg on my show this morning, and just, of course, Ted Gavea coming over from Winnipeg, Kenny Lawler coming over from Winnipeg, Johnny Augustine coming over from Winnipeg, and the impact that a winning culture has had on the Hamilton Ticats this year. Bo also said that Carlo Koliakovo or I could throw it up to Kenny Lawler and be successful in the CF. I'm not so sure that's accurate. That's very complimentary from Bo, but it has been an unbelievable story what the Hamilton Ticats have been able to do offensively, and very much they're carrying over what they did at the end of last season into this season. And you add Kenny Lawler to the fold, who I'm not sure if he's going to score 20 touchdowns this year, if he can stay healthy. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility. He's been such an impressive ad, and if you pay a receiver that type of money and you need strong week-to-week production, and he has been giving Bo Levi Mitchell and the Ticats just that. I think it's going to be a dogfight between Hamilton and Montreal for that top spot in the East, and especially with Alexander now on the 6th game and McLeod Bethel-Thompson stepping up, Hamilton might have a leg up on Montreal. And I don't think too many people predicted that the Ticats were going to win the East Division this year.
No, they're in a great spot right now, and kind of, they started off 0-2, avoided it getting worse like it did last year, and now in a really good spot moving forward. Just while we're on the topic of the Canadian football, you got to ask you about the Calgary Stampeders. Listen, I actually thought that this team, I had their over win totals. I was surprised that they were ranked so low, knowing that VA came in, and frankly got on VA at 25-1 for MOP too, just knowing that if Calgary did have a turnaround, the credit's going to go to VA for coming in and turning the team around. But no one could have imagined the start that they've had right now in these last 3 games. Pounding the Bombers twice, ending the Riders' undefeated season. You follow this league very closely. We know what VA is capable of, but how has this happened so quickly?
It's been so impressive. And the defense deserves a lot of credit as well. Yeah. Their pass defense ranks amongst the top in the CFL so far this season. They're getting a ton of pressure on opposing quarterbacks, which has been huge for them. But you're right, Vernon Adams Jr., think about the season he had last year, a couple of years ago, to start, and the Nathan Rourke stuff coming in and posing problems for his ability to play for the BC Lions. But yeah, Vernon Adams Jr. is a stud. He's one of the best quarterbacks in the CFL. And sure, he has his warts, as does everybody. But when Vernon Adams Jr. is at the top of his game, he is very difficult to stop. They're getting great production from Dedrick Mills. And I think, let's look at Calgary as what they could be in the second half of the season. They get Reggie Begelton back. They get Malik Henry back with Phil Pop, with Rhymes, with Damian Alford, who is a mutant.
Wow.
There. As you guys saw, the number 1 overall pick in the draft. It's like,
when was the last time a CFL number 1 overall pick came in and made such an impact so quickly? I can't think of really anybody close.
No, this has been like a revelation. I remember when Hamilton drafted some tight end first overall like 5 years ago, never even played in the league. And now this guy Alford, and keep in mind, Keelan White's been pretty impressive as well. Top 5 pick in the CFL draft. Verisek has been good for Hamilton, playing linebacker. So this draft class has been loaded. It's like the NBA draft class with LeBron and Chris Bosh and Dwayne Wade and all those guys back in the day. So it's been something to behold. This Alford kid, a touchdown machine. What an unbelievable draft pick. By the way, Alford, as someone who may like to sprinkle some money on certain things, was 200-1 to go number 1 overall in the CFL draft. And it was a massive surprise. Nobody saw it coming. And it looks like Dave Dickinson and his staff really knew something about Damian Alford, because he's been one of the best stories in the league all year long.
Well, for an organization that seemed to have everything go the wrong way last year, it has just been stunning. They turned over the entire coaching staff outside of Dickinson. They turned over the entire defense. They brought in a new quarterback and new players, and it has just clicked right off the bat. And hard not to say that they are the team to beat right now, and number 1 in the pecking order right now as we kind of get towards the halfway through the season. It's been pretty impressive. Hey, AK, while I've got you, listen, summer sports talk, we know there's a lot of takes on our local hockey teams. Leafland, first of all, when does Vegas come to Toronto? I'm sure you guys already have that one circled on the calendar.
The dates? What is the date? I think it's in January. Sometime mid-January is the date. Yes, I know. Like all the hotel rooms around Scotiabank Arena are already booked up. Everyone's getting ready for the big day. Mitch,
how's Mitch going to be welcome back? Will it be as ugly as we've seen? Is this going to be like Vince Carter back in the day right off the bat? Or will it be at that time, okay, you know what? He's gone. Let's be the bigger people and thank him for the time he was here.
So I don't think it'll be the latter. I think there certainly will be boos for sure from the Toronto fan base, because he's essentially the poster boy for a failed era of Maple Leaf hockey. Is that fair? Probably not. I think Austin Matthews is just as culpable, as is William Nylander, as is John Tavares, as is Morgan Riley, as is Brendan Shanahan. All those guys were there for majority of everything that ensued over the last 9+ seasons in Leafland, where they just didn't have enough playoff success. Does Marner deserve to be booed the way that Vince Carter was booed in 2005? I don't think so. Vince legitimately quit on the basketball team. Okay, keep in mind, Vince Carter, when he played for the Raptors that year, averaged 15 points per game. He gets traded to the New Jersey Nets, averages 27 points per game. He quit on the Raptors. Mitch Marner was a really good player for the Toronto Maple Leafs last year with 102 points. That being said, I have no issue with him being booed. He left the Toronto Maple Leafs as a free agent, a team that wanted to re-sign him on multiple occasions. They tried to re-sign him last offseason. They tried to re-sign him at the trade deadline. He had no interest in exploring that possibility. He wanted to leave Toronto for a multitude of reasons. And there are things that come along with that, such as boos when you return. But I think over time, as I've learned with Vince Carter, the Toronto sports fan is very, very soft at heart. They are forgiving. I think there will come a time down the road that Mitch Marner is welcomed back with open arms, and I wouldn't be surprised if it's sooner rather than later.
You know, when you're moving around your roster, you're not usually looking to trade a loony for 4 quarters, but that's sort of what the Leafs have done. But what's the consensus? I mean, is there a chance that they could actually be a team that is better in the end and more difficult to play against come playoff time than the one that they had last year, falling just short to the team that went back-to-back as Cup champs?
So Marner made $10.9 million last season, and the way the Maple Leafs essentially replaced that money is they recently acquired Dakota Joshua from Vancouver. They bring in Nicholas Waugh from Vegas in the sign and trade for Marner, and Mateus Michelli comes over from the Utah Mammoth as well for a 3rd-round pick. So that's essentially around $11 million that the Maple Leafs allocated to Mitch last year is now onto those 3 players. So I think when you consider what the Maple Leafs have done as a whole, it's making the best of a difficult situation. And they still have some cap space to play with as the season gets closer, perhaps begins, and maybe there's a trade to be made. And I think the perfect deal, and the perfect deal for every team around the NHL, would be the Brad Marchand style deals where you get an impact top 6 forward at the deadline, and they slide right in there, maybe next to Austin Matthews, maybe next to John Tavares, and that's where you make your impact when it comes to a trade. But I don't think there's anything out there for the Leafs. They also have essentially 0 draft capital to move, and their prospect pool has been depleted over the years due to trades and really a lack of development. And a guy like Easton Cowan out of the London Knights is their clear-cut number 1 prospect. He's a guy who I think will vie for a spot on the hockey club to start the season. So their options are limited. I think Brad Treliving, the GM, has done a really solid job, not a sensational job, but a solid job of accepting realities and looking at the options he had in front of him and saying, this is probably the best we can do for the moment, but let's leave our powder dry and see if maybe something down the road can materialize where we can improve our hockey team even more.
AK, looking forward to Saturday. Bombers, Argos, and tonight should be a real fun one to finish off this Yankees-Jays series as well. Say hi to Carlo. Thanks for doing this, buddy. Keep him straight and on the fairway, and we'll catch up later on this year and get closer to making some NFL picks. I know you're getting ready for NFL season as well.
I love it. I will be there Saturday at BMO Field supporting the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Already bet a -2.5. So let's go Bombers. I'm out on the Argos. We can do it for Winnipeg here in my FanDuel account.
Great chatting with you, pal. Thanks for doing this.
Always. Thank you.
All right, good stuff with AK. You can check him out mornings with Carlo Koliakovo at TSN 1050. All right, we do have live racing tonight at Assiniboia Downs. We will get to our picks in a few minutes. We'll also get to the cool bet lines, focus in on this big Jays-Yankees rubber match tonight in the series. But the Goldeyes are coming back home. Congratulations to Rick Forney, who is going into the American Association Hall of Fame. All-Star festivities on the weekend. But, Rick, of course, who had his legendary run with the Winnipeg Goldeyes, very deserving of going into the American Association Hall of Fame. The Fish are back. They need wins, but they need fan support as well. And, hey, listen, win or lose, it's always a great night at the ballpark. Ice-cold beers, amazing food, and one of the most beautiful environments you could be in to spend a few hours on a beautiful Manitoba summer night. The Fish are back. Homestand gets going tomorrow down at Blue Cross Park. 982 base, goldeyes.com to get your tickets in advance. And listen, our Breezy Bend golf report today is a very special one. Congratulations to Breezy Bend's own Braxton Kuntz, representing his Ball State Cardinals, who yesterday shot 5 under par at the U.S. Amateur qualifying, and he will be teeing it up August 11th to 17th at the famed Olympic Club in San Francisco in the U.S. Amateur. Braxton is expected that in all likelihood will be his final amateur event, as of course the Manitoba Open is at Breezy, and the word on the street is that is the tournament that he will turn pro in. And what a great place to do it, his home course coming up. But Braxton Kuntz, congratulations and good luck in the U.S. Amateur at the Olympic Club. All right, listen, before we get to the cool bet lines, figured this was a great time to hook up again with our friends at Sport Manitoba for It Takes a Community to Play segment. And there is a big event coming to the city next month. It is the World Archery Youth Championships, which will have close to 600 athletes coming from almost 60 countries from around the world to do this. So I'm going to find out a little bit more about the event and archery in Manitoba with Kelly Taylor, who's on the chair of the event and a longtime board member of Archery Manitoba. We'll do that right now for Sport Manitoba, and It Takes a Community to Play. All right, it's time for another It Takes a Community to Play segment with Sport Manitoba here in Winnipeg Sports Talk, presented by Manitoba Liquor and Lotteries. And today we're looking ahead to a massive event in the city next month, the World Archery Youth Championships. And the chairman of the event, Kelly Taylor, joins us now on WST. Kelly, thanks so much for doing this. It's great to have you on the show as we count down to a massive event for archery here, not just in Manitoba, but Canada.
Well, thanks for having me, Andrew. It's great to be here.
Tell us a little bit about the scope of this event. It's the World Archery Youth Championships coming to Winnipeg, I guess the 16th to 24th. So we're talking an 8-day event. This is a big deal.
This is massive. It is the largest tournament on the World Archery calendar. It typically brings in more than 500 athletes from 64 or more countries. We might be setting a record. We're now at 582 athletes from 69 countries, and probably another 260 coaches and team officials coming as well. So it's a huge financial boost for the city.
I mean, with just the scope of the event is kind of stunning when you think about that, potentially as high as 1,000 people when you think of other people traveling in. And I mean, it goes over 8. Fill us in on where is the event and how will it work? Obviously, it's 8 days. Do they go with different age categories on different days, or is this one of those tournaments where you go almost head to head and like a tennis tournament, you got to make it through until the end?
It's a little bit of both, actually. So the official competition will start on Tuesday, the 19th, August 19th, with the qualification round. So qualification round in outdoor archery is we call it a 720, and that is 72 arrows over 12 ends. So they get 3 minutes to shoot 6 arrows per end. The most they can score on a target is 10 points. So the maximum for the qualifications is 720, which is where the 720 comes from. And then their scores are used to then seed them, within their categories, from first to, well, not first. And that is how they're placed into brackets. And the brackets are going to work a little bit like like a tennis tournament at this point now, where it's head to head. You win, you move on. You lose, thanks for coming. And for the elimination matches, each archer shoots 3 arrows per end for 5 ends for a total of 150 points maximum. Highest score wins. Then we also have team competitions. So each country can enter up to a maximum of 3 archers per category. There's 8 categories. So recurve, under 18, male and female, recurve under 21, male and female, compound under 18, male and female, compound under 18, male and female. So there's 8 categories. Maximum team size is 24. And then for those countries that have 3 people in a category, those 3 people form a team for a team competition. And it works, again, like in eliminations. They're ranked based on their total team scores, and they go through the brackets that way. So then there's also the mixed teams, which takes in each category the number 1 ranked male and the number 1 ranked female from each country, and they go head to head with other mixed teams. And again, same bracket situation.
So it's a combination of, qualifying, setting yourself up, and then winning head-to-head matches throughout, which should make, I think, for some great spectating. How about for people who want to check this out? First of all, where is the event happening? And is it open to the public, Kelly? I mean, for people that are interested in seeing a real high level of archery, or maybe just interested in the sport to find out more about it, can they go out and take it in?
Yeah, absolutely. It's open to the public. We're charging very reasonable spectator fees. It's $10 a day for qualifications, $30 a day for finals, $100 for an all-access pass. Covers the whole competition. And the qualifications are happening at the Winnipeg South End United Soccer Fields, just south of Grant Park High School. And then on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, the competition moves to the Forks. Where by Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, we're down to the bronze and gold medal matches. And they take place at the Forks in the CN stage area. I'll be honest, the finals are the more exciting of the events to watch. A 720 round in archery isn't the most exciting thing to watch, but we have a number of things going on. We have we're going to have a selection of Indigenous artisans with a trade show. We're going to have a try archery booth, which is where anybody that wants, whether they've bought a ticket or not, can come and try their hand at archery.
You know, I wanted to ask you just about that. Like, I remember as a kid being out at like Mini U at the U of M, and you'd get a chance to do a whole bunch of activities. And one of the ones we did was archery. I think all the kids thought it was really cool, but that was sort of the only time I was ever really exposed to it. I mean, if you go down to the community center, you know, you got football, you got hockey, you got soccer, but there really wasn't archery. What sort of, like, how do people get into archery right now? And if you did have, you know, a kid or frankly an adult that, you know, wanted to take it up or try it, where can they do that? And just fill us in a little bit on archery in Manitoba overall.
Yeah, so our local partnership organization is Archery Manitoba. And on their website, archerymanitoba.ca, you can sign up for lessons. They start up again in the fall. They take place at Heartland Archery, which is on Thomas Street, sort of behind Pony Corral on Nairn, or at Heights Outdoors on Portage Avenue. We also have locations in Brandon as well. So archerymanitoba.ca is the first place to start. If you just want to go and give it a try and see if you like it, just drop into Heartland Archery or Heights Outdoors. They'd be happy to help you out.
Now, obviously, but if you're down at the Forks taking in some of the finals and whatnot, pop into the booth and find out more. And I'm sure that'll be the perfect place to get information on how to get involved in the sport a little bit more. It's the 2025 World Archery Youth Championships coming to Winnipeg the 16th to the 24th of August. Kelly, it does seem, you mentioned, you know, pushing 600 athletes and 70 countries. This is truly a global sport. Who are the superpowers? Who are the big countries that everyone expects to be some of the toughest to beat or that are bringing the largest teams to Winnipeg?
Well, to be honest, Canada is no slouch. We've got 19 athletes signed up. We're going to announce the team identities shortly. Traditionally, Manitoba, surprisingly enough, has had a strong showing at World Archery Youth Championships. My son won a silver medal in 2019.
Nice.
In Madrid. The major powers right now are India and the United States of America. And both of those countries are bringing full teams. And I expect they will be very tough competition.
Well, hopefully the home cooking and a home, what do we call it? Home court advantage? Home
field advantage?
Home field, I guess, advantage. Yeah, I didn't know whether there's a special term for the archery lanes can be fun. If people want more information on the event, WAYC2025.com will take you to the event. You can find a little bit more about it with the latest news on it, a little bit on sponsorship or volunteering, and some great stuff on people coming to Winnipeg for the event and making the most of their time here during our beautiful summer. It is all there right now. And again, you mentioned Archery Manitoba, a great spot to find out more about the sport, Kelly, and potentially get involved.
That's right.
Great stuff. Last thing, for folks that maybe, if you're not familiar with the sport overall, but you're interested and you go there, what do you, as a novice fan or a spectator of archery at an event like this, what are we looking for? Obviously, there's going to be a very high level. A lot of them are going to be into the bullseye. I mean, in your opinion, what kind of separates the best from the next category of great athletes at a world event?
Well, archery is one of those sports where pure strength isn't necessarily the determinant of how well someone does. It takes a lot of focus, a lot of determination, a lot of practice, and it takes a steady hand. And oddly enough, to shoot really well, you kind of have to embrace the uncertainty. And by that, I mean that when you draw back and you've got your pin on the target, it's going to be moving around. And even though it's moving around, you still just have to trust that it's going to come back to center if you execute properly and, release with what we call the surprise release. So the things to watch for are the preparation that the athletes put in, even just for every arrow. The determination, the focus that they're exerting on each shot, and obviously where the arrow lands. 10's highest for compound, 5 is the lowest. Anything outside of 5 is a miss. For recurve, they got all 10 scoring zones possible. So it takes place at compound shoots at 50 meters on a smaller target. Recurve shoots at 60 meters for under 18 and 70 meters for under 21.
Well, we are learning lots about archery today, and certainly if you get involved in the event, there'll be so much more out there. World Archery Youth Championships here in Winnipeg next month. They've got a countdown on the site, 24 days to go. And I imagine you and the committee, Kelly, just putting the finishing touches, getting the Canadian team ready, and then getting ready to welcome the world to Winnipeg. Thanks so much for doing this. Good luck with the event, and we'll certainly check in that week with you on how everything's going across the city as up to 600 athletes come to compete for World Championships here in the Peg.
All right. Thank you very much, Andrew. Take care.
Thanks for doing this, Kelly. There's Kelly Taylor from the World Youth Archery Championships. And of course, this has been another edition of It Takes a Community to Play with Sport Manitoba, brought to you by Manitoba Liquor and Lotteries. All right, thanks to Kelly for jumping on. Let's head over and check out the Cool Bet lines for tonight. Big rubber match, Blue Jays, Yankees. It is Max Fried for the Yankees, Chris Bassett for the Blue Jays, and the Blue Jays are plus 120 home dogs for tonight. Obviously, Fried's been great. So has Bassett, though, been for the Jays. They really saved a great pitching matchup for the final match of the series. I'm going to be feeling the Jays tonight at plus 120. Total for the game is 8.5. And there is an alt line for the Blue Jays, plus 220 to win by 2. Plus 1.5 at minus 143. So, for instance, last night when they lost by 1, you could still get a win in that. Oh, it just moved to plus 121. So there you have it. There's tons, like more than the regular games. It's such a big series. Tons of game props, home runs, total bases, hits, singles, doubles, RBIs, batting combos, players, strikeouts, walks, stolen bases, all waiting for you right now. Full slate of games, although a bunch of them went a little earlier today. Dusty and I today, normally we'd have Pat on. He's on a bit of a honeymoon right now. Congratulations to Pat and his lovely wife. So we won't dive too much into the 3M Open. Most of the big dogs not playing this week after finishing up last week at the Open Championship. Can't tell you Sam Burns is the favorite. This is the TPC Twin Cities in Minneapolis. Sam Burns at 16-1. Chris Gotterup, who had that incredible run in Europe, winning the Scottish Open, finishing third at the Open. He's 18-1. Matt McNeely, 20-1. Wyndham Clark, who ended up finishing fourth, one of the biggest names in the field, he's 25-1, along with Michael Thorbjornsson. Grazerman and Taylor Pendrith at 28. Former winner, my guy Tony Finau, 33-1. I'm going to put a little sprinkle on him. Ricky Fowler and Jake Knapp. All the usual options up for the golf this week is up right now at CoolBet for the 3M Open. CFL lines. Let's see if there's been any movement from yesterday. Well, Calgary was a 6-point favorite yesterday. They're now 6.5-point favorites. The Riders were 10-point favorites yesterday when we were doing CFL 110. That line is now at 9.5. Wow, we've had some line movement go to the Bombers. I guess this news that Zach Collaros is starting has emboldened Bomber bettors. Winnipeg now a 5-point favorite over the Toronto Argonauts. That makes me nervous. These games are always really tight. But the Argos 5-point dogs. Winnipeg minus 233 on the money line. And then how about this, Remo? Sunday night, Hamilton and BC. BC's 3.5-point favorites. The total for this game, 55.5. They are expecting some serious fireworks at BC Place between two high-powered offenses and two top CFL QBs.
Yeah, I'm conflicted. I missed the Saturday night late games, but I do enjoy the Sunday night football when it's not NFL season. It gets me ready. I did have some NFL fan friends complain to me, I miss football. I can't. I'm like, but guys, there's football like all weekend. Every night. Like, what, you're missing out?
Wake up.
Here, and that's going to be a great game on the fast track in the Dome in BC. Nathan Rourke, Bo Levi. And I enjoyed hearing what Milt had to say about Nathan Rourke. And I saw some people in chat saying, oh, Nate Rourke's overrated. He was incredible in his rookie season. I agree. He hasn't got to the level he was at then. There could be some big fireworks in that game. And how about Aaron Korolnek giving me a laugh, saying that he's going to be at the game in BMO supporting the Bombers? Well, he got them at 2.5. Pretty smart move by him jumping on that, as you said. They're now at 5. So it is very interesting following the line movement, and you do wonder, will something change in the Elks line if they announce Fajardo starts, and maybe you want to jump on it early? I think Fajardo gives them a better chance to win. Sorry, Trey Ford, you've shown flashes, but Fajardo's a Grey Cup champion. He was looking very good last year until his injury. So I wasn't a Fajardo believer, but after I saw in person what he did to the Blue Bombers on that final drive, my tune has changed.
Yeah, like we're like big Fajardo and Nick Arbuckle guys, just because we had to live with what they did to us in the big game a couple times.
You know, Nick Arbuckle wasn't as much like what he did. It was more like what the Bombers like didn't do, right? Like Cody Fajardo had to engineer that drive to come back and make some big time throws. I felt like, you know, Zach Clark's finger fell off and he threw a couple pick sixes. Isn't that what happened?
That's accurate. That's accurate. But again, and to be honest, they didn't do much before that either.
It's
like,
true.
I mean, it was, well, as I say,
they were in it. I felt like they
were
were going to come back. We can talk about this forever. Like, this is.
I prefer not to. I prefer we'd never speak of it again. But yeah, hey, just on that, we did do, if you missed CFL 110 yesterday, it's up. Check it out. Myself and Jeff Hamilton. It's up on the YouTube channel and available on the podcast. Our parlay for the CFL 110 was Calgary minus 5.5, Ticats plus 3.5, and we just took the Bombers money line, the Bombers to win. Listen, I hope the Bombers can win. If they do, I think it's going to be tight. You will not see me jumping on, Bombers as a 5-point road favorite in Toronto. But that one was boosted yesterday all the way to plus 440. With the Calgary and the Bomber line moving, it's plus 396, but that's boosted from plus 347. So you can still get it right now up in the cool bet combos. Starting to get some good NFL futures up in the combos as well, if you want to check that out. And a full slate of games tonight in the majors for games that aren't already underway. The highlight, of course, is Jays and Yankees. That one's starting just after 6 p.m. If you haven't played a cool bet before, what the heck are you waiting for? Use the promo code WST for a 100% bonus up to $200 on your first deposit. And when Pat's back next week, we'll get another day for another WST poker tourney over at CoolBet as well. All right, Reem, back at the track tonight. I actually I bet a couple of kind of bigger favorites last night, trying to be competitive and stay, in and around where I was at, and that blew up in my face. So I think I'm going back to big swings tonight for an 8-race card at Assiniboia Downs beginning just after 7:30.
Yeah, some big cards yesterday. 8 races today, another 8. I've got my picks in, and You and I yesterday both 0 in our picks, trying to get on the win column tonight.
All right, I'm saving my wagers for the last 3 races, all big field, 6, 7, and 8. So I don't know if you've got anything before that.
I'm also on 6, 7, 8, but I also took 3. Race 3, horse 3 to win. That is conspiracy theorist to win. Popular one these days. Not the favorite,
Go
though.
conspiracy theorist, go.
I think it's had some wins recently. That was a while ago. It was last year. Not as good this year. Whatever.
All right, moving over to race 6. I actually have 2 bets on race 6. I am going with a 1, 2, 8 triactor box, Flintock, by request, and Tree Hugger. That's a $6 bet. And then I'm also putting $2 on Tree Hugger to win. $2 on 8.
Okay. I'm on 1, 2, 6. I'm taking the chalk program selection AI smart picks. Triactor box.
Watch out for Tree Hugger. He's going to come in and upset your apple cart. Moving over to race number 7. I have a triactor box, $1. Catch the Dream, number 1. Number 4, Olive's Candy, and number 8, McGill.
Okay, I just have 1, 8 in an exacta box. So we're similar pages.
All right. We could both win that.
Yeah.
And then finally, race number 8. Okay, a little different. I went with $4 on number 7, Black Tekka to win.
Okay.
And I put $2 on a Black Tekka. What was the other horse? 7-4. So Black Tekka to win and Mr. K second. Not a box, just a straight up $2, 7 first, 4 second.
Okay, I've got an exacta box, 6, 7, Black Tekka, and Totalizer. Maybe the 2 best horse names. Del Vecchio's a long shot. Now, that's been a favorite in the past, and I will give a shout out to Curly Asa, who won the WST race last year. Is 50-1, Curly Asa. I got the picture behind me somewhere.
That's right. There's Curly Asa right there. And yes, you can see August 20th, 2024. 6 furlongs. Finish first.
Yes, Curly Asa.
That was the WST race. Hasn't been as good of a season this year for Curly Asa, but maybe it can happen tonight as a big, big long shot. 7:30 p.m. Assiniboia Downs. Place to be tonight. And of course, they're back next week, Tuesday and Wednesday. And then the following week is the Manitoba Derby. We'll make sure we hook up with Darren Dunn next week before the biggest day of live racing of the year, finishing up the August long weekend at Assiniboia Downs. What are you feeling about this game tonight, Reem?
Gaze, it's going to be tough going up against Max Breed, but I think they take the series. They've been pretty good at home. They had to lose sometime. Good opportunity as plus money at home. Like it. So the Yankees, they got some bats. They were in a bit of a slump. Did see Aaron Boone getting all upset on his weekly John Boy appearance.
Was losing it. Very, very rattled that they just can't beat the Jays. Well, they finally did last night, but that was fun to watch.
Yeah, so I'll tune into that. I know you've been taking in some WNBA as well, as we're in that part of the sports schedule.
Yeah, you know what? Last night, saddled up. We had the Jays on the one TV and did have the Indiana Fever and New York Liberty. No Caitlin Clark, unfortunately, but actually watched a lot of the game last night. It was fun. Sabrina Ionescu went off late, and Liberty ran away from the Fever in the fourth quarter. But great to see the WNBA on the way it's growing right now, just coming off their big All-Star festivities. That is going to do it for us, everyone. Thanks again to Milt Stegall for coming on today. So great to have Milt back on the program. Brandon Rewucki, Aaron Korolnek, Kelly Taylor, all of you for hanging out with us today. And of course, a huge thanks to the sponsors that make the show happen. Hey, Remis was on Daily Faceoff today. You can check that out with Matt Larkin and Tyler Yaremchuk. I watched it. Very good spot, Remo. Repping us well. And of course, if you haven't checked out Paper Plates, they just put out the new episode. Why don't you go check that out? And whatever you do, make sure to join us tomorrow. Big show. Hockey off-season talk. Dennis Bernstein's going to jump on with us. We'll have Josh Frey-Sam post-Bombers practice and much, much more. So we'll see you then. Have a great night. Enjoy the ball game this evening, and have a great evening. Tomorrow, 1 p.m. You know where to be. WST. We'll see you then.
Oh, my God! Oh! Shut it down! Let's go home!
Thanks for tuning in to Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube and your favorite podcast feed at winnipegsportstalk.com.